People reveal their true thoughts without saying a word. Learning to notice these silent signals can change how you connect with others. When you understand unspoken intentions, you unlock a deeper level of communication that most miss every day. Many struggle because they rely only on spoken words. But real feelings and motives often hide beneath what is said. Improving your ability to read these hidden messages can help you avoid misunderstandings and build stronger relationships. Today we will discuss how to recognize and interpret the subtle signs that reveal what others truly think and feel. This skill is not magic, but a way to see the world more clearly and respond with confidence and empathy. If you're ready to improve your awareness and master the art of silent communication, then let's dive in. Number 1. Observe microfacial expressions during emotional responses. Most people walk through life feeling misunderstood. They say something and it gets ignored. They feel something but no one notices. And they wonder why relationships feel shallow or disconnected. You ever sit in a room full of people and feel like you're alone? That's not because the world is cruel, it's because most people are not paying attention. They're looking, but they're not seeing. And that's the difference between the average person and someone who actually gets ahead in life personally and professionally. The difference is awareness. The difference is reading what isn't spoken. And the first step in reading minds without words is to watch the face. Not the words, not the noise. The face. Because in a single second, a human face can show you the truth that a mouth might hide. Microfacial expressions, those tiny little flashes of emotion that appear and vanish in a split second, those are the real leaks of truth. People try to cover them up, but they happen faster than the brain can filter. You don't need a PhD to see it. You don't need a lab. You need presence. You need attention. And you need to care enough to look at people when they're feeling something real. That's where it begins. Let's break it down. When someone is feeling scared, even if they're pretending to be calm, there's a flash of widened eyes. The eyebrows raise slightly. The mouth might open just a little, not enough to be obvious, but enough to say, "I'm afraid," without saying it out loud. That expression might last half a second. Then it disappears, because the person tries to cover it with a smile or a nod. But if you saw it, you know what's really going on. Same with anger. Anger isn't always loud. Sometimes it's hidden behind politeness. But before the words come out, the eyes narrow. The brows lower. The lips press together, just for a split second. That's the storm before the words. You don't even have to hear them. You already know the weather, and this matters. Not just for being clever, but for connection, for leadership, for real relationships. You can't lead a team if you don't know when your people are frustrated. You can't be a true friend if you don't notice when someone's smile is forced. You can't build deep trust with a partner if you miss the moments when their face says, "I'm not okay," even while their voice says, "I'm fine." You know who misses these cues the most? The people who are too busy thinking about what they're going to say next. They're waiting for their turn to talk, and in the meantime they miss the entire story being written across someone's face. The secret is, don't wait to speak. Watch to understand. Be quiet enough to notice. Be still enough to see the flicker behind the eyes, the twitch in the cheek, the tiny frown that wasn't meant to be seen. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Now here's something powerful. Once you start paying attention, your brain gets sharper. You begin to pick up on things you used to miss. You'll notice someone smile, but the smile doesn't reach their eyes. You'll see someone nod in agreement, but their eyebrows pinch inward. That's your signal. Something's not adding up. That's not negativity. That's intelligence. That's awareness. And it builds something stronger than conversation. It builds emotional truth. People will start to feel understood by you. They won't even know why, but they'll say, "There's something about you. It's like you get me." That's the mark of a leader. That's the sign of someone others want to follow, want to trust, want to open up to. And this doesn't only help you understand others. It helps you understand yourself. The more you learn to read those micro-expressions in others, the more you begin to catch your own. The slight tightening of your mouth when you're holding something back. The flicker of jealousy, fear, or judgment. You'll start to recognize when you're not being honest with yourself. And that awareness, man, that's where growth starts. People think reading minds is magic. It's not. It's discipline. It's consistency. It's training your eyes to look deeper and your mind to stay open. It's learning to see what's right there, but most people are too distracted to catch. Don't just listen to people's words. Watch their reactions, not when things are calm, but when emotions rise, when stress hits, when they're surprised, when they feel cornered. That's when the face tells the truth. That's when you see who someone really is. And if you're paying attention, you don't even need to ask what they're feeling. You'll already know. And let me tell you something, this can save you years of pain. Think about how many people trusted the wrong partner, signed the wrong deal, chose the wrong team, all because they believed the words and ignored the face. If they had only seen the moment of doubt, the flicker of dishonesty, the flash of irritation, they could have saved themselves heartache, setbacks, betrayal. You want to be wiser in life? Start seeing sooner. That's the key. It won't be easy. It's going to take repetition. You'll miss things at first. You'll get it wrong. But don't quit. Keep watching. Keep learning. Review your interactions. Replay them in your mind. Ask yourself, what did I miss on their face? What did I overlook in that second of silence? Keep sharpening the blade of perception, one interaction at a time. And here's something else. People lie, but the face leaks. Always. The face doesn't lie, it reacts. No matter how smooth someone's words are, the face reacts faster than the brain can edit. That's the crack in the wall where the light comes through. Once you build this habit, this way of watching without judgment, noticing without interrupting, you start seeing the entire world differently. You see truth where others see nothing. You understand pain before others even hear the cry. You detect joy, excitement, doubt, fear, before a single word is spoken. This is a skill, a human skill. It's not about tricking people or manipulating them. It's about tuning in to what's already being said without sound. It's about becoming someone who sees clearly, someone who others trust, someone who doesn't get fooled by a fake smile, who doesn't miss the signal when a loved one needs support, who doesn't wait for life to scream when it's already whispering. Most people are blind in a world full of signals. But not you, not anymore. Because once you open your eyes to those microfacial expressions, you never go back to surface-level understanding again. You step into a world where silence is loud, where seconds hold stories, and where the face says everything the voice won't. That's not magic. That's mastery. And you're capable of it. Number 2, pay attention to sudden changes in body language. Most people don't say what they're really feeling. Not because they want to lie, but because they're afraid of being misunderstood. They worry about judgment. They try to stay polite. They try to be appropriate. But the truth leaks out, not in their words, no. Words can be controlled, but in how their body moves when emotions hit. And most people are blind to it. You see someone smile and assume they're fine, but you missed the moment when their shoulders dropped right after. That's where the truth was. You listened to someone speak confidently, but you didn't catch that one twitch in their hand as they clenched it tighter. That was the signal. That was the window into what's really going on. See, sudden changes in body language don't come from the brain, they come from the emotional system. They're unfiltered, raw, honest. And if you can catch those shifts, those fast, seemingly minor movements, you'll begin to understand what people are truly feeling, even when they don't want to show it. This is where relationships either grow or break. It's where trust is built or lost. It's where a leader separates from the average. Because most people only hear what's being said. But the few who learn to see the shift, feel the moment, and respond to what's underneath the surface. Those are the people who influence, who connect, who change lives. Imagine you're in a conversation and everything seems fine. The person is relaxed, smiling. Then suddenly their arms stiffen. Their back straightens. Their face doesn't change, but their shoulders go tight. That's a shift. That's something to pay attention to. You didn't hear a change, but something changed. And if you're paying attention, you won't ignore it. You'll adjust your tone. You'll slow down. You'll ask a better question. You'll let silence do its work. That's real awareness. This isn't about being suspicious. It's about being in tune with the rhythm of human behavior. You have to learn how someone's body flows when they're comfortable, how they move, breathe, react, and then notice the moment that rhythm breaks. The shoulders lift just a little higher. The hands suddenly disappear into the pockets. The posture shifts from open to guarded. Those aren't coincidences. Those are responses to emotion. And here's the hard truth. If you're too focused on yourself, you'll miss these signs in others. That's why so many people fail in conversations. They're rehearsing their next line, trying to sound impressive, trying to win the argument. And they completely miss the opportunity to connect because they weren't watching. They weren't present. They weren't tuned into the moment when someone's body said, "I'm not okay." The best communicators aren't the ones with the fanciest words. They're the ones who know how to pause when someone suddenly closes off. They catch the shift in body language and let it guide the conversation. They know when to press forward and when to back off. They know when someone's pretending to be engaged, but their body has already exited the conversation. They know when to lean in and when to give space. That's not luck. That's skill, earned through practice and focus. You've got to look at the whole picture, because someone can be saying all the right things while their body is screaming the opposite. And if you're not paying attention to the changes, how they went from expressive to stiff, from relaxed to restless, you'll be fooled. Not because they're trying to trick you, but because you weren't tuned into the signal they didn't even know they were sending. Here's a truth most never admit. The body always speaks before the mouth does. When someone feels uncomfortable, unsafe, disrespected, anxious, even slightly insecure, it doesn't show up first in their speech. It shows up in a sudden shift. Maybe they cross their legs away from you. Maybe they start touching their neck. Maybe they pull their hands back and hide them under the table. You can't afford to miss these moments if you want to live a life of connection, impact, and authenticity. And this goes beyond just conversation. This applies in negotiations, leadership, sales, parenting, dating, mentoring, every area of life where humans connect. If you're trying to lead a team and you miss the moment your employee's body language shifts from relaxed to shut down, you'll lose trust. If you're mentoring someone and you don't catch the moment they stop leaning forward and start pulling back, you might miss the chance to say what they truly need to hear. It's in the change. Not the movement itself, but the shift. That's the difference. Now don't overanalyze every single movement. You're not a machine. You're a human dealing with humans. But you can train your awareness, and the first step is to be present. Slow down. Watch more than you speak. Reflect more than you judge. Make space for people to show you what they're feeling without forcing them to say it out loud. Most people are waiting to be seen, and they don't even know it. They're waiting for someone to notice the way their energy shifted halfway through the conversation, the way they suddenly stopped gesturing with their hands, the way they pulled back physically, even though their words didn't change. They're not going to say, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable." Their body already said it. It's on you to catch it. And once you do, you'll notice something else. People start feeling safer around you. They open up more. Because they know on a deep, instinctive level that you're not just listening. You're paying attention. You're aware. You see them. That's one of the deepest human needs, to be seen without having to beg for attention. That's where real influence is born. This is the kind of skill that turns a good communicator into a great one. It's what separates surface-level interaction from meaningful connection. And it doesn't take years to learn. It takes commitment. It takes noticing, It takes breaking the habit of distraction and learning to focus fully on the people in front of you. You start by observing patterns. Notice how someone typically stands, moves, rests. Then watch for when that changes. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, a pause before answering, a hand that suddenly retreats, feet that shift away. But if you train yourself to notice the shift, you'll hear the message they're not saying. This is how you protect yourself from being misled. This is how you build stronger relationships. This is how you help people feel seen and understood. It's not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about watching the story that unfolds in the body, not just the mouth. And it's about understanding that the truth often shows up quietly, but it's always there for those who are ready to see it. Number 3. Notice eye movements to detect hidden thoughts. You ever talk to someone and feel like they're not telling you everything? They nod, they smile, they respond just fine, but something feels off. Something unspoken, something beneath the surface that your instincts pick up on, but you can't quite explain. That's not your imagination. That's your brain catching inconsistencies between their words and their eyes. And in most cases, the eyes reveal what the words are trying to hide. If you ignore this, you miss the truth. If you learn to catch it, you start understanding people on a completely different level. A level where lies fall apart and real connection begins. Eyes aren't just for seeing, they're for showing. We all learn to filter what we say, but the eyes, they react faster than logic. Before someone gives you their opinion, before they choose their words, before they even think about how to respond, their eyes already moved. And in that movement is the truth. That's not psychology from a book. That's how humans work in real life. It's how your boss might say, "I'm fine with that," but their eyes shift down and to the side before they say it, revealing doubt or disagreement. Or how a friend tells you, "No, I'm not mad," but looks away for just a second when they say it, proving the emotion is still there. You can't fake that. The eyes move with emotion before the brain decides how to hide it. This isn't about being suspicious. It's about tuning in. Because we live in a world where people are constantly protecting their thoughts, trying not to be judged. But if you want to go deeper in relationships, in influence, in trust, you have to learn to notice what their words don't say. And the eyes are your starting point. Now let's get practical. When someone looks up and to their left while thinking, that's often associated with memory trying to recall something. But if they look up and to their right, they may be constructing something new. A made-up scenario, sometimes a lie. This isn't about jumping to conclusions, but about noting patterns. If they do it once, it means nothing. But if you ask them a direct question and their eyes keep darting away from natural recall directions, take note. That could be a signal. Also, pay attention when someone avoids eye contact right after a question. Not during casual conversation. Some people are just shy, but in key moments. Ask someone how they feel about a decision, and if their eyes instantly drop to the floor or glance rapidly away, that tells you something. It might not mean they're lying, but it often means there's something they're not ready to say. And here's the nuance that most people miss. It's not just where the eyes go, it's when. Timing is everything. If the eyes shift before the person speaks, that's a sign they're responding to emotion. If they shift after the words, it might be nervousness. Watch when the movement happens. It tells you more than the direction itself. People reveal anxiety, excitement, guilt, and even attraction through their eye behavior. Watch how often someone blinks. When someone is nervous or hiding something, their blink rate tends to increase. The brain is stressed. The body reacts. Or, if they suddenly stop blinking, that's often a freeze response, trying not to give anything away. Either way, it's a deviation from normal, and it's a clue. And don't ignore pupil dilation. It's subtle but powerful. When someone sees something or someone they're attracted to, their pupils often widen. The opposite happens when they feel threatened or disinterested. You might not catch it in poor lighting, but when the setting is right, you'll see the difference. It's unconscious. They don't even know it's happening. but now you do. Another cue most overlook is the length of eye contact. Too short, and it might signal discomfort, dishonesty, or anxiety. Too long, and it could mean aggression, manipulation, or an attempt to dominate. Balanced, natural eye contact is a sign of confidence and truth. But the moment that rhythm changes, it's telling you something about what's happening inside. Words can pretend. The eyes can't sustain a lie for long. Think about how this plays out in everyday life. You're in a negotiation, and the other party says they're giving you their best offer. But before they say it, they glance down to the right. That's the area often linked to internal dialogue. Are they convincing themselves? Are they second-guessing? Their mouth says final offer. Their eyes say uncertainty. You'd never know that if you only listen to the words. Or you're on a date and the other person says they're having a great time, but their eyes scan the room constantly, barely holding contact with you. Something's off. They might not be aware of it, but their interest isn't fully on you. The eyes are telling the story the voice won't. This isn't about calling people out or being confrontational. It's about understanding. It's about reading people with care and depth, so you can respond in a way that honors what they actually feel, not just what they say. It's how you build emotional intelligence that people can sense even if they can't explain it. You don't need to memorize charts or diagrams to learn this. You just need to start watching people more closely, especially in emotionally charged moments. Stress, decision-making, excitement, fear, guilt. These are the times when eye behavior becomes most revealing. Practice when you're talking to friends. Observe in meetings. Watch in interviews. Pay attention to what happens in the eyes before, during, and after responses. You'll begin to pick up on things you never noticed before. And over time, you'll build a new level of perception. You won't be fooled by polished language or rehearsed speeches. You'll start to trust what you see, not just what you hear. You'll start to feel when someone is holding back. You'll sense when a conversation is out of alignment, even if everything sounds fine. And you'll be the one who notices the subtle look of discomfort, the flicker of hesitation, the tiny dart of fear, and you'll know how to respond with empathy, with strength, with wisdom. Because once you start reading the eyes, you don't need to wait for someone to speak. You already understand them. You already see the truth. That kind of awareness makes you more powerful, more trusted, more connected. It makes you someone people feel safe around because they know they don't have to over-explain themselves. You already see them. This is not a trick. It's a responsibility. When you learn to read people's hidden thoughts through their eyes, you have a duty to use that awareness with care, with integrity, and with respect. That's how you lead. That's how you build trust that lasts. That's how you become someone who can walk into a room, look around, and understand what others don't. The eyes don't just give away what people think. They show what people feel. And when you can see that, when you can feel it with them, you're no longer guessing. You're no longer reacting blindly. You're responding with understanding, and that changes everything. Number 4, listen to tone shifts more than actual words. People say a lot without really saying anything. You've heard it before. Someone tells you they're fine, but it doesn't sit right with you. Something feels off. You can't point to the words. They were polite, even positive, but there was something in the way they said it. A slight change in pace, a tightness in their voice, a pause that didn't belong. That's what most people miss. They focus on what's being said and ignore how it's being said. And in doing so, they miss the truth entirely. The tone of a person's voice is like the emotional fingerprint of their message. It's not filtered the way words are. People think carefully about their phrasing. They choose the right language to be professional, friendly, appropriate. But tone that slips through, that's raw. That's involuntary. It's the tremble in a confident sentence. It's the edge in a kind response. It's the flatness behind a smile. If you're not listening for it, you're hearing empty shells of conversation. But when you do learn to catch it, you hear the real story hiding inside their voice. And here's the truth most won't tell you. Tone reveals intent. You can hear hesitation, irritation, resentment, confusion, and even affection without needing to hear specific words. And that's not some mystical skill. That's human connection at its most real. Every time someone speaks, their body's emotional state leaks into their voice. Their breath, their throat tension, their vocal pace, their volume, their pitch, it all shifts based on how they feel, not just what they want to say. People often hide behind words, but their tone betrays them. You hear it when someone apologizes, but their voice is cold. Or when they say they're happy for you, but the tone lacks warmth. They don't need to tell you they're upset, you already feel it. Most arguments in relationships, teams, and friendships don't come from what was said. They come from how it was said, because the tone communicated one thing while the words said another. And here's the mistake people make. They respond to the words and ignore the tone. They defend against a sentence instead of acknowledging the emotion that drove it. That's how communication breaks down. That's how people start feeling unseen and unheard. Because they are. You can't say you're listening if you're not picking up on the emotional layer riding on top of the words. You don't need perfect hearing to notice these shifts. You need focused attention. You need to listen beyond the meaning of the words and into the mood of the message. When someone's voice drops slightly lower as they say they're okay, that drop matters. When they speed up just a little as they explain something personal, that speed reveals discomfort. When their volume increases on a harmless topic, that surge often points to something deeper underneath. These aren't coincidences, they're signals. You'll notice that tone changes are often connected to emotional spikes, moments where the body gets involved, where the nervous system engages. Anger might show up as tension in the voice, a kind of stiffness or tightness in the throat. Sadness tends to bring softness, a lack of energy, a dragging effect. Excitement brings more air into the voice, more brightness. But when there's a mismatch between tone and content, that's your clue. When someone says they're thrilled, but their voice is low, flat, or restricted, you know something's not aligning. And this matters in every area of your life. Whether you're leading a team, raising a child, deepening a partnership, or closing a deal, if you miss the emotional message in the tone, you miss the real message. Words might keep the surface calm, but tone always tells you what's going on underneath. Let's say you're a manager, and one of your employees tells you everything's fine with their workload. But you notice a sudden sharpness in their tone when they mention a particular project. That spike wasn't random. It was a release of tension. They didn't say they were overwhelmed, but they felt it. And now you know to ask a better question, to dig deeper, to care enough to address the feeling instead of just reacting to the facts. Or you're talking to a friend and they tell you about something great that happened to them. But there's a strange slowness in their voice, a lack of sparkle. That's not jealousy, it might be disappointment. Maybe they were hoping for a different outcome. Maybe they're still processing the result. And because you picked up on that, you can say the thing no one else would. You don't sound excited. Are you okay with how it turned out? That one sentence might open a door to a real conversation they haven't had with anyone else. This ability makes you someone people trust, because they'll feel that you're not just nodding along. You're hearing them, not just the words, the them. And when people feel heard on that level, they open up. They feel safe. They start being honest, not just with you, but with themselves. And you can train this ability. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Next time you're in a conversation, listen for slight changes in voice. Ask yourself, did their tone just drop? Did it suddenly become sharper or quieter? Did the rhythm of their speech change? Are they speeding up to get something over with or slowing down to avoid a topic? These little shifts matter. They guide you to the emotion that's driving the moment. And remember, not all tone shifts mean something negative. Sometimes you'll notice someone's voice soften suddenly when they talk about a person they care about, or their voice gets warmer when they feel proud. These changes are just as important. They tell you what matters to them. They show you where their heart is. And that knowledge helps you connect on a deeper level. Tone is also influenced by energy. If someone's voice starts to sound tired mid-conversation, even though their words don't change, it might be mental exhaustion. Or maybe the topic drained them. Or maybe they're losing interest in the interaction. You wouldn't know that if you only paid attention to the content. But once you're trained to hear the shift, you know exactly when to pivot, when to pause, or when to just listen more closely. And one final thing, pay attention to your own tone. Because other people are listening to your shifts too. If you're trying to communicate care, but your voice is flat, they'll feel distance. If you're giving feedback, but your tone is sharp, they'll hear criticism instead of help. The way you say something can change how someone feels about themselves and about you. And when your tone aligns with your intention, your words land with power and impact. Listening to tone isn't a trick. It's a way of valuing people, of tuning in with real care, of getting past surface-level communication and stepping into conversations that matter. Once you learn to hear the shifts, you'll start noticing things you were blind to before. And that's how you build understanding that lasts. That's how you communicate with more than words. You communicate with presence, with heart, with truth. Number 5. Watch foot direction to sense unconscious interest. In many conversations, eyes and hands get all the attention. People focus so much on what the face is doing or what the hands are saying, they forget the feet, the part of the body that tells you a lot without anyone even realizing it. Feet don't lie. They're honest markers of attention and interest, often revealing what the mind is trying to hide. Most people don't even know where their feet are pointed during conversations, yet those little shifts are a powerful signal of what they really want or feel. You see, feet are wired differently than words or facial expressions. They move toward what the brain desires, away from what it wants to avoid, often without conscious thought. When you're talking to someone and they're physically facing you, that feels natural. But watch closely. Sometimes the feet will point elsewhere, maybe toward a door, a window, or another person in the room. That foot direction is telling you where their true attention is. It's not that their eyes are being rude or distracted, but the feet betray a subconscious desire to leave or shift focus. Feet don't lie because they aren't socialized the way hands or words are. You can force your smile, you can control your tone, but your feet will slip if you want out or aren't fully engaged. This is especially true in difficult conversations or negotiations. Someone might be saying all the right things, nodding politely, but their feet angle toward the exit or away from you. That's your sign that their interest isn't genuine. They're not invested. Their mind is already elsewhere. You can pick up on this, and it can save you from being blindsided by false agreements or insincere promises. It's not about catching someone lying. It's about recognizing their energy, their true level of engagement. The feet also show attraction or comfort. When people feel safe and open, their feet often point directly at the person they're talking to. It's a full-body commitment to the interaction. But when someone feels uncomfortable, nervous, or defensive, their feet might angle away, creating a subtle physical barrier. Even if their words are warm, their feet say otherwise. That disconnect is your clue to dig deeper, to address the discomfort before it becomes a bigger problem. Watching foot direction isn't just about noticing where the toes point. It's about reading the whole body alignment. When someone shifts their feet suddenly during a conversation, it's a change in their mindset. Maybe they were interested a moment ago, and now they're reconsidering. Or maybe they're about to interrupt or leave. That movement is a physical cue of a mental shift. Ignoring it means missing a critical part of the story. You might think this is small or insignificant, but it's the small things that build the bigger picture of understanding. Every subtle foot movement is a wordless sentence in the conversation happening beneath the surface. Ignoring those messages is like reading a book and skipping every other page. You lose the plot, the nuance, the truth. In practical terms, observing foot direction gives you an edge in social situations. Imagine you're at a business meeting and the person across from you is leaning forward, making eye contact, but their feet are pointed toward the hallway. That's a red flag. They're engaged enough to be polite, but their body is already prepping to exit. Knowing that, you adjust your approach. Maybe you ask more direct questions, or you give them a reason to stay invested. You don't push harder, you work smarter. It also applies in personal relationships. In a conversation with a loved one, if their feet are pointed away while they talk, it could mean they're emotionally pulling back, even if their words say they're fine. Recognizing this can prevent misunderstandings, arguments, or hurt feelings. You'll know when to pause, when to listen more, and when to show empathy. The feet reveal vulnerability and hesitation that words try to mask. Foot direction also reveals group dynamics. When people in a group setting point their feet toward a particular individual, they're showing unconscious approval or attention to that person. It's a natural way of aligning themselves socially. When feet point away or toward the door, it signals disinterest or discomfort within the group. Leaders who learn to read this can sense who's truly on their side and who might be disengaged or resisting. The truth is, the feet are always speaking, whether anyone notices or not. And the more you pay attention, the more you'll catch the unspoken intentions of those around you. It's like tuning into a secret language of the body. You'll start noticing it everywhere, in casual chats, in serious discussions, even in crowded rooms. But there's a catch. Just like any signal, foot direction needs context. Sometimes people point their feet away because of simple practical reasons, the space, the chair setup, or even habit. That's why you can't rely on this alone. You must combine it with other signals, like eye contact, facial expressions, and tone of voice to get the full picture. But when foot direction matches other signs, that's when the truth becomes crystal clear. Developing this skill takes practice. Start by observing people in everyday settings, the coffee shop, the grocery store, your workplace. Notice how their feet position changes during conversations or interactions. See if you can guess their feelings before they say a word. Over time, you'll become more sensitive to these cues and better at interpreting the silent messages feet deliver. Remember, most people don't realize their feet are telling on them. They believe their words and facial expressions are the whole story. But when you learn to watch feet, you gain access to a deeper layer of communication. It's a way to read minds without words, to understand intentions without direct statements. This skill isn't about suspicion or mistrust. It's about awareness and connection. It helps you become more empathetic and responsive. You'll build stronger relationships because you're tuned in to what people really feel, not just what they say. That understanding creates trust and openness foundations for any meaningful connection. Foot direction is one of those overlooked details that can transform your ability to read people. It's simple, often unnoticed, yet incredibly powerful. It's proof that communication isn't just spoken. It's physical, emotional, and often silent. The feet carry the message of presence and interest, of engagement or withdrawal. When you learn to see that, you step into a new level of understanding. And that new level of understanding gives you influence. It gives you the power to respond with precision, to act with insight, and to connect with authenticity. People feel it. They recognize that you're not just hearing words, you're sensing what matters beneath them. So next time you're in a conversation, don't just look for what's said. Look where their feet point. Because there, in that subtle direction, lies the truth waiting to be discovered. Number 6, mirror their posture subtly to build deeper rapport. It's a quiet truth of human connection that people instinctively bond with those who seem like them. We don't always realize it, but when we see someone adopting similar gestures, matching our movements, or sitting in a way that echoes our own, it triggers a sense of familiarity and trust. This subtle imitation, known as mirroring, happens naturally among close friends or people who are getting along well. But what most don't know is that mastering this simple yet powerful nonverbal tool can dramatically improve your ability to connect with anyone, whether it's a stranger, a colleague, or a loved one. Mirroring is not about copying someone in an obvious or exaggerated way that makes them uncomfortable or suspicious. Instead, it's a delicate art of subtly reflecting their posture, gestures, or breathing patterns to foster a silent dialogue. Imagine you're sitting with someone across the table. If they lean forward slightly, you lean forward too, just a fraction. If they cross their legs, you do the same, but naturally and without making it obvious. This isn't mimicry, it's synchronization, a dance of body language that helps build an unspoken rapport. When done right, mirroring sends a subconscious message: I am like you, I understand you, and I am on your wavelength. This phenomenon is rooted in our brain's mirror neurons, which fire both when we perform an action and when we see someone else performing the same action. This neurological mechanism underlies empathy and social bonding, explaining why people feel closer to those who unconsciously mirror their movements. It's the body's way of saying, "We are in tune." When you intentionally engage this mechanism, you increase your chances of creating trust quickly and deeply. In everyday life, the stakes are high for those who can mirror effectively. Whether you're trying to influence someone in a negotiation, establish a connection in a networking event, or calm a tense conversation, this technique can be transformative. People feel safe with those who resemble their own behavior. It lowers psychological defenses and invites openness. Mirroring can soften barriers, reduce resistance, and even change the tone of a conversation before a single word is spoken. Yet, mirroring requires sensitivity and restraint. If done clumsily, it can backfire, appearing forced or mocking. The key is to be subtle, patient, and genuine. Start by observing the other person's posture closely, how they sit, how they hold their arms, where their hands rest. Notice how they breathe or shift their weight. Then gently reflect these patterns in your own body language, but with slight delays or variations so it feels natural. The goal is to create harmony, not to copy exactly. Another powerful aspect of mirroring is its ability to deepen empathy. When you physically align with someone, your brain's emotional centers engage more fully, allowing you to feel what they feel more vividly. This enhanced emotional resonance improves your ability to listen, respond, and connect on a deeper level. It transforms communication from a mechanical exchange into a shared emotional experience. Beyond the immediate impact on conversations, mirroring also helps in detecting authenticity. When you match someone's posture and they naturally respond by relaxing or mirroring you back, it indicates genuine interest and comfort. Conversely, if they stiffen or avoid matching, it may signal discomfort, distrust, or disinterest. This feedback loop gives you a subtle but powerful tool to gauge the true nature of your interaction in real time. Consider how this plays out in a challenging scenario. Perhaps you're mediating a conflict or trying to win over a skeptical client. Mirroring their body language sends a message of alliance rather than opposition. It breaks down invisible walls and allows both parties to feel understood. This physical alignment can be the foundation for resolving misunderstandings and building cooperation. Mirroring is also invaluable in social settings where verbal communication is limited or strained, such as with people who are shy, anxious, or from different cultures. By matching their physical cues, you bridge gaps that words can't always reach. It becomes a nonverbal way to say, "I see you, I accept you," which can be incredibly reassuring and empowering. However, mirroring is not a magic trick to manipulate others. Its true power lies in genuine empathy and authentic connection. When you use this technique with respect and care, it opens doors to deeper relationships built on trust. When abused or used insincerely, it risks damaging trust and appearing manipulative. Always approach mirroring with the mindset of enhancing connection rather than control. To develop this skill, practice is essential. Begin by observing the posture and gestures of friends or people you interact with daily. Notice when you feel naturally drawn to someone and how your body responds in kind. Then try to subtly mirror those cues in low-stakes situations, like casual conversations or friendly chats. Reflect on how the other person responds. Do they become more relaxed, open, or engaged? Use these experiences as feedback to refine your approach. Over time, mirroring will become an unconscious habit, a natural part of how you communicate. It will enhance not only your social interactions, but also your emotional intelligence. You'll find that you can read and respond to others with greater nuance and depth, creating connections that feel effortless and genuine. In a world where communication often feels rushed, superficial, or disconnected, mirroring offers a path back to true human connection. It reminds us that so much of what we communicate lies beyond words, in the language of bodies moving in harmony. When you learn to listen with your eyes and respond with your body, you open yourself to richer, more meaningful interactions. This technique is not just for experts or therapists. It's accessible to everyone willing to slow down and tune in. It's a daily practice of awareness, patience, and empathy. It requires you to be present in the moment, observing without judgment and responding with kindness. The reward is the ability to build rapport that goes beyond surface-level chatter to the heart of understanding and trust. In essence, mirroring is a silent conversation between bodies that speaks volumes. It bridges gaps between strangers, calms tensions, and builds friendships. It's a timeless dance that connects us to one another on the most fundamental level. When you master the art of subtle mirroring, you don't just communicate, you connect. And that connection is the foundation for every meaningful relationship in life. Number 7. Detect fake smiles by observing the eye muscles. There is a harsh reality many of us face daily. Not every smile we see is genuine. Whether in personal relationships, professional settings, or casual encounters, people often wear smiles that mask their true feelings. You've probably experienced moments when a smile didn't quite reach someone's eyes, or you sensed something was off despite their cheerful expression. This disconnect between what is shown and what is truly felt can create confusion, mistrust, and missed opportunities for authentic connection. The skill of detecting fake smiles is not just about skepticism. It's about understanding emotional honesty and protecting yourself from deception while building deeper human bonds. Smiles are one of the most powerful nonverbal signals we send. A genuine smile, often called the Duchenne smile after the French neurologist who studied it, involves specific muscle movements, especially around the eyes. When someone smiles authentically, the orbicularis oculi muscles contract, causing crow's feet or wrinkles at the outer corners of the eyes, and the eyes appear to narrow slightly in a way that radiates warmth and true happiness. This involuntary muscle movement is difficult to fake because it is closely tied to genuine feelings of joy and positive emotion. In contrast, a fake or social smile usually involves only the muscles around the mouth, called the zygomatic major, lifting the lips but without any activity in the eyes. This smile can look forced, uneven, or fleeting. The lips may stretch broadly, but the eyes remain cold or lack the characteristic narrowing that signals genuine emotion. The absence of this eye involvement is the telltale sign that someone might be masking their true feelings, trying to appear polite, agreeable, or positive when they are not genuinely experiencing those emotions. The ability to spot these subtle differences is crucial for many reasons. For one, it helps you navigate social and professional situations with greater clarity and authenticity. Imagine you're in a negotiation or a job interview, and the person you're speaking with offers a broad, bright smile that doesn't engage their eyes. Recognizing this can alert you to potential insincerity, discomfort, or hidden agendas, prompting you to proceed with caution or probe deeper into the conversation. Similarly, in personal relationships, discerning a genuine smile from a fake one can help you understand when someone truly feels joy and connection, or when they might be concealing disappointment, frustration, or other negative emotions. But learning to detect fake smiles goes beyond mere observation. It requires mindful attention and practice. It's not enough to glance and judge. You must train yourself to notice the subtle cues in the eyes, the timing and symmetry of the smile, and the context in which it occurs. Genuine smiles tend to develop slowly, peak, and then fade naturally, while fake smiles often appear abruptly and disappear quickly, lacking smooth transitions. Paying close attention to these temporal aspects can enhance your accuracy in reading people. Another important factor is context. People sometimes smile for reasons that don't reflect inner happiness. They might be nervous, trying to avoid conflict, or socially conditioned to smile in certain situations. This means you should interpret smiles within the broader tapestry of their body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. For example, if a person smiles but their eyes look tense or their body seems closed off, the smile might be more of a mask than a true expression of emotion. Detecting fake smiles also ties into emotional intelligence and empathy. Recognizing when someone is not being fully authentic can inspire you to respond with greater compassion rather than judgment. Perhaps they are hiding pain or anxiety behind that smile. This awareness allows you to offer support, ask meaningful questions, or create a safer space for honest expression. In this way, your ability to see past the surface smile strengthens your relationships and fosters deeper understanding. Moreover, this skill can protect you from manipulation. People who use fake smiles to deceive, charm, or control others rely on the assumption that most won't question the sincerity of a smile. By sharpening your perception, you become less vulnerable to such tactics and better equipped to maintain boundaries and trust your instincts. It empowers you to distinguish between warmth and pretense, kindness and calculation. It's worth noting that cultural differences play a role in how smiles are expressed and interpreted. Some cultures encourage frequent smiling as a social norm, regardless of emotional state, while others reserve smiles for genuine moments of happiness. Being aware of these nuances ensures that your judgments about smiles remain fair and contextually accurate. It also broadens your empathy for the diverse ways people communicate emotions around the world. To cultivate the ability to detect fake smiles, begin by observing people in natural settings, friends, colleagues, strangers on the street, and focus on their eyes when they smile. Practice noticing whether the smile feels warm and reaching their gaze or appears mechanical and limited to the mouth. Watching videos of genuine emotional expressions and comparing them to staged or forced smiles can also be an excellent training method. Over time, your subconscious will start picking up on these cues automatically, enhancing your interpersonal awareness. Remember, detecting fake smiles isn't about becoming cynical or distrusting everyone. Instead, it's about enriching your understanding of human emotion and communication. It's about recognizing that people often wear emotional masks for various reasons: fear, politeness, social pressure, and that behind those masks lie complex feelings waiting to be understood. When you develop this skill, you become a more sensitive and insightful communicator, capable of perceiving the unspoken truths that shape human interactions. Ultimately, mastering the detection of fake smiles deepens your connection with others by helping you see beyond appearances. It reveals the gap between surface politeness and genuine feeling, guiding you toward more authentic relationships. In a world where many emotions are concealed or disguised, this skill equips you to navigate social landscapes with clarity, empathy, and confidence, making every smile you encounter more meaningful and truthful. Number 8. Study their baseline behavior before making judgments. In everyday life, you encounter countless people, and it's easy to jump to conclusions based on a single glance or interaction. Yet, the truth is, everyone has a unique way of behaving, an individual baseline that reflects their natural habits, mannerisms, and typical emotional responses. Without first understanding this baseline, interpreting someone's body language or expressions can lead you astray. This is a reality many overlook, often causing misunderstandings, misjudgments, and unnecessary conflict. The key to truly reading someone's nonverbal communication lies in patiently observing and studying their baseline behavior before drawing any meaningful conclusions. Imagine you meet someone who appears restless, fidgeting with their hands, or frequently shifting their position. Without knowing their baseline, you might assume they are nervous or hiding something. But what if that person naturally has high energy or is simply uncomfortable sitting still for long periods? Their so-called restlessness would be normal for them, and reading it as anxiety would be a mistaken judgment. Establishing baseline behavior means observing a person over time or across different contexts to recognize their typical patterns of movement, facial expressions, gestures, and tone of voice. This baseline acts like a behavioral fingerprint, a unique reference point against which deviations become significant. For example, if someone usually speaks softly and calmly but suddenly raises their voice or speaks quickly, that change is more telling than the raised voice alone. Conversely, if someone is habitually loud and animated, their intense speech might not indicate anger or excitement, but rather their usual style. Understanding what constitutes normal for them helps you detect subtle shifts that signal genuine emotions or intentions. Without this foundational knowledge, you risk misreading a single behavior as a universal sign. Many body language cues are ambiguous. When taken out of context, crossed arms might mean defensiveness for one person, but simply comfort for another. A smile might be habitual rather than genuine, or a pause in speech could be a thinking habit instead of hesitation. Observing a baseline ensures you don't mistake a natural behavior for a red flag or overlook a meaningful signal because it doesn't match your expectations. Developing this skill requires mindful, sustained attention. It's not about judging quickly or superficially, but about becoming a careful observer who notices consistency and variation. Start by focusing on small details. How does this person stand when relaxed? How do they usually move their hands when speaking? What is their normal eye contact pattern? Over time, you build a mental map of their typical behavior, which sharpens your ability to detect when something is genuinely off or out of place. This approach also demands patience and openness. People are complex, and their behaviors can be influenced by countless factors: mood, environment, culture, health, or personal circumstances. By grounding your judgments in a baseline, you allow space for these nuances instead of rushing to simplistic conclusions. You become less reactive and more reflective, which leads to better interpersonal understanding and more effective communication. Moreover, studying baseline behavior enhances your emotional intelligence. It forces you to shift focus from what you expect or want to see to what is actually present. This detachment from bias cultivates empathy because you learn to appreciate the person's natural state rather than projecting your assumptions onto them. It's a vital step in building genuine rapport, trust, and respect. In practical terms, baseline observation can be integrated into everyday interactions. When meeting someone new, avoid jumping to conclusions based on the first few minutes. Instead, notice their default facial expressions, typical gestures, and normal conversational rhythm. Watch how they behave in different settings or with different people, if possible. These insights create a foundation for interpreting deviations with accuracy. For example, in a work meeting, a colleague who typically sits upright with confident posture suddenly slumps or avoids eye contact might be experiencing discomfort or disagreement. Without knowing their baseline, you might miss these clues or misinterpret them. Similarly, A friend who usually laughs easily but becomes quiet and withdrawn signals a change in emotional state worth exploring. Another essential benefit is reducing miscommunication and conflict. When people feel misunderstood because their natural behavior is misread as hostile, defensive, or insincere, relationships suffer. By committing to understanding baseline behavior, you build a buffer against such misunderstandings, leading to more harmonious interactions. It is also crucial to recognize that baselines themselves can evolve. People change over time due to experiences, growth, or circumstances. Therefore, continuous observation and recalibration are necessary. What was normal yesterday might shift tomorrow. Staying attentive to these dynamics keeps your perceptions fresh and accurate. In conclusion, studying baseline behavior before making judgments is a fundamental step in mastering the art of reading people. It grounds your interpretations in reality rather than assumptions, enabling you to see beyond surface actions and grasp the true emotional and psychological state beneath. This approach transforms how you interact with others, turning every encounter into an opportunity for deeper understanding and connection. Through patience, observation, and empathy, you gain a powerful tool that enhances communication, fosters trust, and ultimately enriches your relationships in every sphere of life. Number 9. Sense hesitation through pauses and speech fillers. Every person, no matter how confident they seem on the surface, experiences moments of hesitation in conversation. It is an everyday reality that many face but rarely acknowledge: the silent gaps, the uhs, ums, and the subtle delays in speech that creep into our dialogue when uncertainty, anxiety, or internal conflict arise. These pauses and speech fillers are not just random or meaningless. They carry a wealth of information about what is happening beneath the surface of someone's mind. Recognizing and interpreting hesitation through these verbal and nonverbal cues can reveal hidden doubts, fears, or indecision that people often struggle to articulate outright. When people hesitate while speaking, it's usually because they are processing information, searching for the right words, or trying to mask discomfort. This moment of vulnerability is critical for anyone who wants to truly understand what another person is feeling or thinking. Pauses in speech, when observed carefully, serve as a window into the speaker's mental state. They often signal a moment of cognitive dissonance, a clash between what a person wants to say and what they feel they should say. Detecting these moments can give you a significant edge in communication, negotiation, or any interpersonal exchange. Hesitation is frequently accompanied by speech fillers, those seemingly meaningless sounds like ah, or like. While these fillers might seem trivial or annoying in everyday conversation, they function as important clues. They show the speaker is navigating uncertainty, doubt, or discomfort, even if their words suggest confidence or certainty. Learning to tune into these fillers, instead of dismissing them, helps you pick up on underlying emotional states that might otherwise remain hidden behind a facade of composure. What makes hesitation so fascinating is how universally it appears, but how uniquely it manifests in each individual. Some people might have a rapid-fire speaking style punctuated by brief, almost imperceptible pauses, while others might draw out every filler sound with hesitation stretching into awkward silence. Recognizing these differences and establishing a baseline of normal speech patterns allows you to notice when hesitation deviates from the norm, making your understanding more precise and nuanced. Beyond just noticing hesitation, it's crucial to interpret its context. For instance, in a high-stakes meeting, a sudden increase in pauses might indicate doubt about a proposal or reluctance to commit. In social settings, hesitation could reveal discomfort or reluctance to share personal information. When someone stumbles over their words or inserts numerous fillers, it might be a signal that they're guarding a secret or feeling pressured. In romantic conversations, hesitation can betray feelings of insecurity or fear of rejection, despite outward attempts at casualness. One of the most powerful aspects of noticing hesitation is that it invites deeper listening and questioning. When you observe a pause or filler, instead of rushing to fill the silence or gloss over it, you can create space for the person to clarify or elaborate. This silence can become a bridge to more honest, authentic communication. Encouraging someone to take their time and express themselves fully often leads to richer conversations and stronger connections. However, it's important to approach hesitation with sensitivity and without judgment. Not every pause or filler indicates deception or discomfort. Sometimes people simply think carefully before speaking, especially in complex or emotionally charged situations. The goal is not to catch someone off guard or accuse them of dishonesty, but to deepen your understanding of their internal state through their speech patterns. Hesitation can also be influenced by cultural background, personality, and context. For example, introverted individuals or non-native speakers may naturally pause more as they choose their words thoughtfully. Public speaking anxiety or social phobia can amplify hesitation dramatically. Recognizing these factors prevents you from misinterpreting hesitation as a sign of something negative when it's merely a normal variation of speech. Practicing the ability to sense hesitation requires both awareness and experience. Start by simply listening more attentively in everyday conversations. Notice when people pause unexpectedly or insert fillers more frequently. Observe how their body language corresponds with these speech patterns. Are their eyes darting away? Is their posture tense? Do they seem distracted or uncomfortable? Combining vocal hesitation with physical cues provides a fuller picture of their emotional state. In professional environments, being attuned to hesitation can enhance your negotiation skills and leadership effectiveness. When a colleague hesitates before agreeing to a decision, it's often a sign they are unsure or have reservations. Instead of pressing them to respond immediately, acknowledging their pause and inviting them to share their thoughts can reveal valuable insights and foster collaboration. Similarly, during interviews or evaluations, noting hesitation can help you identify candidates who might be less confident or require further probing to uncover their true potential. On a personal level, recognizing hesitation allows you to respond with empathy. When a friend or loved one falters in speech, it might be a subtle plea for patience or understanding. By not rushing them or interrupting, you show respect for their process and create a safe space for open communication. This awareness strengthens relationships by validating emotions that words alone may not express fully. Hesitation, pauses, and speech fillers are often overlooked or dismissed as irrelevant, but they are essential keys to unlocking deeper communication. They remind us that conversation is not just about exchanging information, but also about revealing emotions, intentions, and vulnerabilities. Mastering the ability to sense hesitation transforms how you connect with others, enabling you to respond not just to words, but to the unspoken truths that shape every interaction. In conclusion, hesitation through pauses and speech fillers is a subtle yet powerful form of communication that reveals the complex interplay between thoughts and feelings. By learning to notice and interpret these moments carefully, you gain insight into others' inner worlds, improving your ability to navigate social dynamics with empathy and precision. This skill demands patience, keen observation, and an open mind, but the rewards are immense: deeper connections, clearer understanding, and more authentic communication that honors the full spectrum of human expression. Number 10. Spot discomfort through touching face or neck repeatedly. Almost everyone has experienced moments in social interactions where they feel uneasy, even if the source of that discomfort isn't immediately clear. This subtle unease often manifests physically through involuntary gestures, such as repeatedly touching the face or neck. These actions, though seemingly insignificant, are powerful indicators of underlying tension, anxiety, or self-consciousness. People unconsciously seek comfort by running their hands over familiar parts of their body when they feel threatened or uncertain, and learning to recognize these signals can open a window into their true emotional state, which words alone might never reveal. When someone repeatedly touches their face or neck during conversation, it is often a silent cry for relief from internal stress. Unlike intentional gestures used for emphasis or communication, these self-soothing touches are automatic responses triggered by discomfort. The repetitive nature of these movements highlights the person's subconscious attempt to regulate their emotions, offering a clear signal that something is amiss. Whether it's the stress of a difficult question, an uncomfortable topic, or underlying nervousness about the situation, these physical cues betray the tension hidden beneath the surface. In everyday life, face and neck touching can be easy to overlook or dismiss as mere habit, but the context in which they occur is critical to understanding their meaning. For example, someone might briefly touch their chin while thoughtfully considering an idea, which differs significantly from repeated scratching or rubbing that signals anxiety. The frequency, intensity, and combination with other body language clues help distinguish between simple gestures and those that indicate real discomfort. Observing these subtle variations enables you to decode the unspoken emotional layers that often influence behavior. Beyond anxiety or nervousness, repeated face or neck touching can also signal uncertainty or deceit. When people feel caught in a lie or are unsure of how their words are being received, their body tends to betray them through these involuntary touches. The hands move toward the face as a protective barrier, an instinctual reaction to shield oneself from scrutiny or judgment. This defensive behavior, although subtle, is a natural response when trust is compromised or when the individual feels vulnerable. By noticing these gestures, you can better assess honesty and emotional transparency in interactions. Another important aspect to consider is that touching the face or neck can be linked to feelings of embarrassment or shame. When individuals feel exposed or judged, their natural reaction might be to cover or touch sensitive areas as a way of shielding themselves from perceived criticism. In moments of social awkwardness or self-doubt, these gestures become more pronounced. Recognizing this pattern can help you respond with empathy, giving the other person the space or reassurance they need to feel more at ease. The type of touch can also provide additional insight. Light brushing of the neck or chin can indicate mild discomfort or contemplation, while aggressive rubbing or scratching may reveal a stronger emotional turmoil such as stress or frustration. The speed and rhythm of these touches matter. Too slow, deliberate movements might signal a person trying to calm themselves, whereas rapid, jittery touches can suggest heightened anxiety. Paying attention to these nuances is crucial for developing a keen sense of emotional awareness and accurately interpreting what lies beneath the surface. Importantly, these self-touching behaviors rarely occur in isolation. They are often accompanied by other signs of discomfort such as avoiding eye contact, shifting posture, or shallow breathing. When multiple indicators align, the message becomes clearer. The person is not comfortable in the current situation. Learning to observe clusters of these signals rather than relying on a single gesture enhances your ability to read people authentically and avoid misinterpretation. It's also worth mentioning that cultural differences and individual habits influence how frequently people touch their face or neck. Some cultures consider certain gestures taboo or inappropriate, while others may have no stigma attached to such behavior. Moreover, some individuals naturally touch their face more than others simply as a quirk or habit unrelated to emotional discomfort. Therefore, establishing a baseline of a person's typical behavior is essential before concluding that face or neck touching signals distress. Contextual understanding allows you to separate nervous habits from genuine discomfort. In practical terms, being sensitive to these subtle signs of unease can transform your interpersonal interactions in profound ways. In professional settings, spotting discomfort early gives you the opportunity to adjust your approach, perhaps by softening your tone, shifting the topic, or offering reassurance. For instance, during negotiations or performance reviews, noticing a client or employee repeatedly touching their face might prompt you to pause and invite them to share concerns, creating an environment of trust and openness. This awareness helps avoid misunderstandings and fosters better communication. In personal relationships, this skill deepens your emotional connection. When a friend or partner touches their neck nervously during a conversation, you become attuned to their unspoken anxiety or vulnerability. Rather than rushing to fill the silence or push for answers, you might simply offer a comforting presence or ask gentle questions to encourage openness. This sensitivity nurtures empathy and shows that you respect their feelings, strengthening bonds through nonverbal understanding. Moreover, spotting these subtle signs is vital in situations where words can be misleading or deliberately deceptive. People can mask their true emotions verbally, but their body often reveals inconsistencies. When you notice repeated face or neck touching paired with other defensive signals like crossed arms or lack of eye contact, you can become more cautious about taking statements at face value. This doesn't mean jumping to conclusions, but rather maintaining a thoughtful awareness that people's emotional realities can be complex and layered. Developing the ability to spot discomfort through these gestures requires patience and practice. It involves slowing down your perception, observing without judgment, and learning to read beyond surface-level communication. The more you pay attention to how people physically respond in tense moments, the sharper your intuition becomes about their emotional state. This skill is not about exposing others, but about cultivating a deeper connection and understanding that transcends words. In essence, the repeated touching of the face or neck is a silent signal, a non-verbal language of discomfort that speaks volumes when you know how to listen. It's a natural human response to emotional tension, a subconscious effort to find relief amid stress or uncertainty. Recognizing and responding to these gestures with empathy and insight allows you to navigate conversations more skillfully, respond to emotional undercurrents effectively, and build authentic rapport with those around you. Ultimately, mastering this subtle art of observation transforms your interactions, empowering you to perceive what often remains hidden. It enhances your emotional intelligence by teaching you to trust the unspoken messages conveyed through body language. Number 11. Read crossed arms as a sign of resistance. It's a situation that everyone has faced countless times, standing across from someone whose arms are firmly crossed, creating a physical barrier between you and them. This posture is so common in social interactions that many people barely give it a second thought. But if you learn to pay close attention, crossed arms can serve as one of the clearest, most universal signals of resistance, defensiveness, or emotional withdrawal. Understanding what this seemingly simple gesture conveys is essential because it often reflects deep-rooted discomfort or disagreement that words alone might fail to reveal. The challenge lies in reading this body language accurately without jumping to conclusions, as the crossed arms can sometimes mask a range of emotions from insecurity to outright opposition. Crossed arms frequently appear during moments of conflict, stress, or uncertainty, acting as a subconscious shield that protects the individual from perceived emotional or psychological threat. When someone folds their arms tightly across their chest, they are physically closing themselves off, which mirrors an emotional shutdown. This posture reduces vulnerability, creating a barrier that blocks others from invading their personal space or probing further. It's as if they are saying, "I'm not open to what you're saying," or "I don't trust this situation enough to relax." In many ways, the crossed arms become a silent but powerful defense mechanism that can instantly change the dynamic of a conversation. However, interpreting crossed arms requires more than just noticing the gesture itself. Context is everything. For example, a person might cross their arms simply because they are cold or tired, and not necessarily because they feel defensive. The key is to observe the surrounding cues and baseline behaviors to determine whether this posture indicates resistance or something more benign. If crossed arms coincide with other signs, such as avoiding eye contact, frowning, or a tense jaw, the likelihood that this gesture signals emotional withdrawal or disagreement increases substantially. On the other hand, if someone casually crosses their arms but maintains an engaged expression, it might just be a comfortable resting position. Differentiating these nuances demands patience and sharp observation. Crossed arms often surface in situations where people feel criticized or judged. For instance, during a difficult feedback session at work or a personal disagreement with a loved one, an individual might fold their arms tightly as a way to guard themselves against what they perceive as attack or blame. This reaction is rooted in the need to protect one's ego or feelings from harm, signaling an internal struggle between wanting to engage and fearing vulnerability. Recognizing this cue can help you adjust your approach, softening your tone, offering reassurance, or simply pausing to allow space for the other person to open up, which can diffuse tension and encourage more honest communication. Interestingly, crossed arms can also indicate stubbornness or refusal to accept new ideas. In negotiations or debates, a person who crosses their arms may be signaling a firm stance or resistance to change. This physical position communicates a lack of willingness to yield or compromise, effectively putting a psychological wall between themselves and opposing viewpoints. When combined with other assertive signals like leaning back or narrowed eyes, crossed arms can escalate the message of opposition. Understanding this empowers you to navigate such situations with greater tact, perhaps by gently probing for the root of the resistance or by finding common ground before pushing further. Moreover, the tightness and position of the arms add layers of meaning. Arms crossed high on the chest with hands gripping the upper arms indicate stronger resistance and a more intense need for protection. Conversely, loosely crossed arms with relaxed hands suggest mild discomfort or uncertainty rather than outright hostility. The difference in muscle tension and posture gives valuable clues about how deeply the person feels threatened or uncomfortable. Observing these subtle distinctions improves your ability to decode the true emotional state behind the crossed arm stance. It's also important to realize that crossed arms do not always represent negativity. In some cases, people adopt this position when they are simply thinking deeply or concentrating. It can be a self-hug, a way to channel focus and self-soothe in moments of introspection. This means that while crossed arms often signify resistance, they can occasionally reflect internal processing rather than interpersonal barriers. The challenge is to look beyond the gesture itself and consider timing, environment, and other nonverbal signals to interpret it correctly. When paired with verbal communication, crossed arms can dramatically shift the meaning of what's being said. For example, someone might be verbally agreeable but physically closed off, hinting that their words don't fully reflect their true feelings. This mismatch between verbal and nonverbal cues is a critical red flag that deserves attention. It highlights the importance of paying attention to body language as a vital supplement to spoken words, especially when trying to gauge sincerity or hidden emotions. Being aware of this gap can prevent misunderstandings and foster more authentic dialogue. Another crucial factor is how crossed arms interact with the dynamics of power and control. In hierarchical settings, subordinates or employees might cross their arms as a silent form of resistance or defiance against authority, signaling a lack of acceptance or trust. In contrast, leaders or dominant individuals crossing their arms can convey confidence and control, creating an impression of firmness or decisiveness rather than defensiveness. Understanding these social nuances helps you read crossed arms not just as a fixed signal, but as a flexible form of communication shaped by status and relationship. Learning to respond effectively to crossed arms can transform challenging interactions into opportunities for connection. Instead of interpreting this gesture as a personal rejection or hostility, approach it as a non-verbal message asking for understanding or space. You might soften your approach, ask open-ended questions, or acknowledge the other person's discomfort directly to break down their barriers. Showing genuine empathy and patience encourages the person to uncross their arms and engage more openly, paving the way for more productive and heartfelt communication. In day-to-day life, mastering the skill of reading crossed arms builds emotional intelligence and interpersonal savvy. It teaches you to tune into subtle signs of resistance and address them before they escalate into conflict. This heightened awareness fosters smoother conversations in both professional and personal settings, allowing you to navigate difficult moments with greater ease. Instead of feeling blocked or frustrated by closed-off body language, you learn to interpret it as a valuable clue that opens new doors to understanding. Ultimately, crossed arms are a silent, universal form of communication that speaks volumes about a person's emotional state. Whether signaling resistance, discomfort, or contemplation, this posture invites you to look deeper beneath the surface of interaction. By observing the context, combining other nonverbal cues, and responding with empathy, you unlock a powerful tool for connecting with others on a more authentic level. In a world where true understanding is often elusive, reading crossed arms well gives you a decisive edge, allowing you to move beyond words and into the heart of unspoken feelings. Number 12. Track breathing patterns for anxiety or confidence cues. It's something most people rarely notice consciously, yet the rhythm and depth of someone's breathing can reveal volumes about their emotional and mental state in any given moment. Consider how you feel when you're nervous. Your breath might become quick and shallow, almost erratic. Or when you're calm and self-assured, your breathing tends to slow down, deepening in a way that grounds you. Breathing is one of the most primal and uncontrollable functions of the body, and because of this, it serves as a subtle but incredibly telling indicator of how a person is really feeling beneath the surface. Learning to track and interpret these breathing patterns allows you to access a hidden layer of communication that few people tap into, but everyone emits. In everyday interactions, breathing shifts can be a silent signpost signaling underlying anxiety or confidence, even when the person's words or facial expressions try to mask it. For example, during a stressful conversation, a person might unconsciously begin to take rapid, shallow breaths. This change often goes unnoticed by most, but it betrays their heightened stress response. Their body is preparing for a fight or flight situation, even if they don't consciously acknowledge it. This physiological response reflects their internal tension and can help you understand that the person is feeling overwhelmed or threatened, even if they insist everything is fine. On the other hand, steady, slow, and deep breaths indicate a state of calmness and assurance. Someone who breathes in a controlled manner during conversations often projects confidence and emotional stability. Their body is relaxed, their nervous system regulated, and they are more likely to think clearly and respond thoughtfully. Noticing this kind of breathing helps you identify when a person is comfortable and open, which can be a powerful cue in negotiations, leadership, or building trust in personal relationships. Recognizing these contrasting breathing patterns empowers you to gauge the emotional atmosphere of an interaction without relying solely on verbal communication. It's crucial to recognize that changes in breathing are often involuntary and hard to fake, making them a reliable sign of genuine emotional states. People may attempt to mask their nervousness by controlling their words or facial expressions, but their breathing often gives them away. This unconscious aspect makes breathing an invaluable window into truthfulness and authenticity. When someone suddenly shifts from a relaxed breathing rhythm to quickened, shallow breaths during a critical moment, it can signal hidden stress, fear, or even deceit. Being attuned to these shifts allows you to read between the lines and detect emotions that might otherwise remain concealed. Tracking breathing patterns is not only about noticing speed, but also about observing the depth and regularity of breaths. Shallow breathing tends to engage only the chest muscles, producing a tight, clipped rhythm, whereas deep breathing involves the diaphragm, creating a slow, fuller breath that visibly expands the abdomen. People under stress often revert to shallow chest breathing because it requires less effort and is triggered by anxiety, while deep diaphragmatic breathing signals relaxation. The physical differences in breathing provide an important clue to the person's emotional equilibrium, so learning to distinguish these patterns sharpens your perception dramatically. Moreover, breathing can be influenced by emotions beyond anxiety and confidence, such as excitement, anger, or sadness, each producing distinct breathing signatures. For example, anger often leads to rapid, forceful breaths that might sound like sighs or even growls, while sadness can slow breathing down to almost a whisper, marked by long pauses or irregular patterns. Excitement, on the other hand, may quicken breathing, but with a lighter, more energetic quality compared to the tense sharpness of anxiety. Paying attention to these subtle differences enriches your understanding of the emotional nuances in any interaction, giving you a more comprehensive picture of what someone is experiencing internally. It's important to consider the context and baseline breathing habits of each individual, as breathing patterns can vary naturally from person to person due to fitness level, health, or habitual tendencies. For instance, someone who practices meditation or yoga regularly might maintain calmer, deeper breathing even in stressful situations, while others may exhibit shallow breathing more readily. Observing how a person typically breathes during relaxed moments allows you to spot deviations that indicate emotional shifts more accurately. This personalized baseline acts as a reference point that prevents misinterpretation and enhances your ability to read true emotional states. Breathing also interacts dynamically with other nonverbal signals, creating a constellation of cues that clarify meaning. For example, a person with rapid breathing combined with clenched fists, a tense jaw, or narrowed eyes is likely experiencing intense anxiety or frustration. Conversely, slow, measured breathing paired with open posture and steady eye contact signals ease and receptiveness. Combining breathing patterns with other body language elements prevents misreading isolated signals and builds a richer, more reliable interpretation of the situation. This holistic approach is essential for truly understanding people in real time. Mastering the skill of tracking breathing patterns can significantly improve your communication and emotional intelligence in multiple settings. In leadership, recognizing when a team member's breathing indicates stress can prompt timely intervention or support before problems escalate. In negotiations, noticing a counterpart's breath quicken might signal discomfort with an offer, allowing you to adjust your strategy accordingly. In personal relationships, being sensitive to a loved one's subtle breathing changes opens the door to deeper empathy and more thoughtful responses. The power of this skill lies in its ability to reveal hidden emotions and enable more nuanced and compassionate interactions. Additionally, becoming aware of your own breathing during conversations can enhance your presence and control. By consciously slowing and deepening your breath, you can regulate your nervous system, project confidence, and create a calming effect on others. This feedback loop of mindful breathing helps you stay centered and responsive, reinforcing your ability to read and respond to others' emotional cues effectively. The connection between breath and emotional state is not just about observation, but also about self-regulation, making breathing a tool for both perception and influence. Developing this sensitivity takes practice, patience, and focused attention. It requires slowing down in conversations to notice subtle physiological changes that many overlook. Over time, your brain becomes trained to pick up on these silent signals almost instinctively, allowing you to navigate social and professional situations with greater ease and insight. The reward of honing this skill is profound: an enhanced capacity to connect authentically, respond empathetically, and build trust through understanding what remains unspoken. In a world where genuine communication is often drowned out by noise and distraction, learning to read the rhythm of someone's breath offers a direct line to their emotional truth. It bridges the gap between surface appearances and deeper realities, helping you cut through pretense and apprehension. Whether someone is battling hidden anxiety or radiating quiet confidence, their breathing patterns tell a story that words cannot fully express. By tuning into this natural involuntary. Number 13. Decode silence as a form of communication. In a world obsessed with constant noise and endless chatter, silence often becomes uncomfortable, awkward, or even feared. Yet, silence is not merely the absence of words. It is a powerful form of communication that can reveal far more than any spoken sentence. Most people struggle with silence during conversations, rushing to fill it with sound because they fear the emptiness it brings. But if you learn to decode silence, you open the door to understanding layers of emotion, thought, and intent that often lie beneath the surface. Silence is a language in itself, and when observed carefully, it becomes one of the most revealing signals anyone can offer. Think about the last time you sat across from someone who suddenly went quiet. How did it make you feel? Did you sense tension, hesitation, respect, or contemplation? That momentary pause might have communicated disappointment, confusion, disagreement, or even deep thought without a single word uttered. People use silence deliberately or unconsciously to express what they cannot or do not want to say aloud. Learning to read these silent moments accurately requires tuning into context, timing, and the accompanying body language, turning silence from an awkward gap into a meaningful message. Silence can manifest in multiple forms: a long pause after a difficult question, a sudden stop mid-conversation, or a purposeful withholding of response. Each form carries its own significance. For example, in an argument, silence might signal withdrawal or passive resistance, a way of saying, "I am upset," without escalating the situation. In a negotiation, it could be a strategic pause, indicating careful consideration or a subtle tactic to create discomfort and pressure the other party to speak more. When someone remains silent after receiving news, it might reveal shock, disbelief, or an inability to process their feelings immediately. By observing how and when silence occurs, you gain insight into the other person's mindset. Context is everything when interpreting silence. The same quiet moment can mean vastly different things depending on the relationship, environment, and emotional state of the individuals involved. Silence during a casual chat among friends may simply reflect comfort and ease. Sometimes no words are needed when there is mutual understanding. Conversely, in a tense business meeting, silence might denote distrust or disagreement that neither side is willing to voice. Recognizing these nuances requires a keen awareness of the situation as well as the history between participants. Without this, silence risks being misunderstood or ignored. Another crucial aspect is noticing how silence interacts with other nonverbal cues. If silence is accompanied by crossed arms, downcast eyes, or a clenched jaw, it often signals discomfort, defensiveness, or disagreement. Conversely, Silence paired with a relaxed posture and calm breathing can indicate thoughtfulness or respect, a moment where the person is truly listening and processing information. These subtle cues help differentiate between silence as a barrier and silence as an opening for deeper connection or reflection. Thus, paying attention to the entire physical and emotional context is vital. Silence also plays a critical role in building rapport and trust. While many fear it, well-timed silence can create space for vulnerability and honesty. Allowing someone to pause and gather their thoughts without interruption shows respect and empathy, encouraging them to share more authentically when they are ready. In this way, silence becomes a tool for deepening relationships rather than an obstacle. Mastering the art of comfortable silence allows conversations to flow more naturally, giving room for genuine understanding rather than forcing premature responses. In conversations where emotions run high, silence can be particularly telling. For instance, after a painful disclosure or a difficult confession, silence may hang heavily, reflecting the weight of what was shared. This silence is not empty, it is filled with emotion, reflection, and the need for processing time. Responding prematurely with words can sometimes damage trust or seem insensitive. Instead, recognizing the value of silence at these moments demonstrates emotional intelligence and patience. It signals that you are present and supportive even when there is nothing to say. People also use silence defensively as a shield against vulnerability or exposure. When faced with probing questions or uncomfortable truths, they may retreat into silence to protect themselves. This kind of silence often feels rigid or prolonged and can be accompanied by subtle signs of tension like stiff posture or averted gaze. Understanding this defensive silence helps you navigate conversations more tactfully, knowing when to gently probe and when to step back. It also alerts you to underlying issues that might require time and sensitivity to unravel. On the flip side, some individuals use silence as a form of power or control. Strategic silence can unsettle others, forcing them to fill the gap, reveal more than intended, or reveal their own insecurities. This is common in negotiations, interviews, or confrontations where one party seeks to gain the upper hand by creating discomfort through quiet. Recognizing when silence is being wielded intentionally allows you to regain control, stay calm, and respond with confidence rather than filling the silence reflexively out of nervousness. Silence, when decoded skillfully, enhances your ability to understand the unsaid, the thoughts, emotions, and tensions that words often fail to capture. It invites you to listen, not just to what is spoken, but to what is held back, making your interactions richer and more insightful. It also sharpens your sensitivity to timing, teaching you when to speak and when to hold back, elevating your communication from mere information exchange to true connection. Mastering silence requires patience and courage because it challenges our instinct to rush, fix, or dominate conversations. It means becoming comfortable with ambiguity and uncertainty, trusting that meaning is being conveyed even when words are absent. This skill transforms silence from a source of anxiety into a powerful tool for emotional awareness, negotiation, and relationship building. As you practice decoding silence in everyday life, you begin to notice how often this quiet language shapes interactions, from subtle exchanges in friendships to high-stakes business deals. You start appreciating the richness that silence adds to communication, how it can deepen understanding and reveal truths that noise often obscures. Over time, you learn to embrace silence not as a void to be feared, but as a profound form of expression that connects us to each other's unspoken realities. Number 14. Notice hand gestures revealing internal mental states. Every day, millions of people struggle to fully express what's truly going on inside their minds and hearts. Despite all the words exchanged in conversations, so much remains unsaid or hidden beneath the surface. This is where hand gestures become a vital gateway to understanding. Unlike spoken language, which can be carefully constructed or manipulated, hand movements often reveal authentic emotional and cognitive states involuntarily. They act as windows into a person's true feelings, intentions, and thought processes. Most people barely notice these subtle movements or dismiss them as random, but learning to observe and interpret hand gestures can transform how you perceive others and connect with them on a deeper level. When someone is genuinely engaged or excited, their hands often become animated, illustrating their thoughts without conscious effort. These natural movements flow in rhythm with their speech and convey enthusiasm, passion, or certainty. On the other hand, if a person's hand gestures are minimal or restrained, it might indicate discomfort, disinterest, or even deceit. For instance, hands tightly clasped together or fingers interlocked can signal tension or self-protection, as if the person is holding themselves back from revealing too much. Recognizing these contrasting patterns helps you gauge the authenticity and emotional undercurrents behind the conversation. The way people move their hands can also indicate levels of confidence and decisiveness. A person who frequently uses open palms facing upward tends to express honesty, openness, and receptivity. This gesture subconsciously invites trust and signals transparency. Conversely, closed fists or fists resting on the table often represent determination, but can also reveal frustration or aggression when paired with a tense posture. Watching how these gestures emerge in different contexts lets you decode not just what is being said, but how the speaker feels about it internally. This insight allows for more nuanced interactions where you can respond appropriately to underlying emotions. Hand gestures also provide clues about mental processes and cognitive load. When someone is thinking deeply or trying to recall information, you might notice them touching their temples, stroking their chin, or rubbing their fingers together. These repetitive motions are often subconscious attempts to stimulate thought or reduce stress. Similarly, frequent tapping of fingers or drumming on surfaces can indicate impatience, anxiety, or restlessness. By observing these subtle cues, you gain awareness of their mental state without needing explicit verbal confirmation. This ability to read between the lines equips you to navigate conversations with greater empathy and timing. In moments of uncertainty or deception, hand gestures become even more telling. People trying to hide discomfort may unconsciously cover their mouths, fiddle with objects like pens or glasses, or repeatedly touch their face or neck. These behaviors often coincide with nervousness or the fear of being discovered. Additionally, inconsistent gestures, such as nodding while shaking the head or smiling with tense hands, signal internal conflict or dishonesty. Such contradictions offer valuable red flags, warning you to probe deeper or tread carefully. Ignoring these cues risks missing critical information or being misled by polished words alone. Cultural context plays a significant role in interpreting hand gestures, making it essential to approach this skill with cultural sensitivity. What might be a positive gesture in one culture could be offensive or meaningless in another. For example, a thumbs up is widely seen as approval in Western societies but can be disrespectful elsewhere. Being aware of these differences prevents misunderstandings and enriches your ability to connect across diverse backgrounds. Even within the same culture, individual idiosyncrasies in hand movement exist, underscoring the importance of observing baseline behaviors before drawing conclusions. Hand gestures often synchronize with other nonverbal signals like facial expressions and posture to form a comprehensive picture of someone's emotional state. For instance, an enthusiastic speaker might lean forward, maintain steady eye contact, and use expansive hand motions to emphasize points. In contrast, someone who is defensive may lean back, avoid eye contact, and keep their hands close to their body. Paying attention to how these signals align or contradict each other sharpens your judgment, helping you avoid misinterpretations caused by focusing on a single gesture. This holistic approach ensures your assessments are balanced and accurate. Besides revealing emotional and cognitive states, hand gestures can actively influence communication by guiding the listener's attention. Pointing, slicing motions, or beckoning gestures serve as visual anchors that emphasize particular ideas or commands. Skilled communicators use these gestures intentionally to clarify complex concepts or persuade their audience. Recognizing when someone is trying to lead your focus through their hands enables you to follow their reasoning more easily and engage more effectively. This dynamic interplay between verbal and nonverbal communication elevates the overall quality of interaction. Mastering the ability to notice and interpret hand gestures requires practice and mindfulness. It starts with slowing down during conversations and consciously observing not just what is said, but how the speaker's hands move. Over time, you develop an intuitive sense for the subtle signals that reveal hidden emotions or thoughts. Journaling your observations or discussing them with trusted peers can further refine your understanding. The more you immerse yourself in this nonverbal language, the more you unlock profound insights about human nature, motivations, and feelings. This skill does more than enhance your perception. It also empowers you to respond with greater tact and emotional intelligence. When you detect nervousness, hesitation, or frustration through hand gestures, you can adjust your approach to ease tension or offer reassurance. If you notice genuine excitement or openness, you can reciprocate with enthusiasm that deepens rapport. In professional settings, reading hand gestures accurately can improve negotiation outcomes, foster trust, and prevent conflicts by revealing unspoken concerns before they escalate. In personal relationships, it strengthens empathy and intimacy by giving voice to the unexpressed. Ultimately, hand gestures are a rich and continuous stream of communication that often bypasses the conscious mind. They provide authentic clues to a person's internal world, offering you a powerful edge in understanding others beyond words alone. By learning to notice, interpret, and respond to these nonverbal signals, you transform everyday interactions into meaningful connections built on awareness and insight. This subtle but impactful skill opens up a new dimension of communication that most people overlook, yet it holds the key to truly seeing and understanding those around you in ways that spoken language can never fully capture. Number 15. Use empathetic listening to reveal deeper emotions. Few experiences in life are as isolating and frustrating as feeling unheard or misunderstood. In the countless interactions people have daily, the majority are focused more on responding than truly listening. Most conversations become battles to be won or platforms for expressing one's own views, leaving little room to genuinely absorb what others are feeling beneath their words. This common failure to listen empathetically causes disconnects in relationships, misunderstandings in communication, and missed opportunities to connect on a meaningful level. Yet, empathetic listening is a skill that transforms this dynamic entirely, allowing you to penetrate beyond surface-level chatter and unlock the profound emotions others often hide behind their words. Empathetic listening is not passive or mechanical. It is an active, engaged process where you dedicate your full attention to the speaker, not just their words, but the feelings, intentions, and experiences they convey. When you listen with empathy, you put aside your own agenda and judgments, focusing entirely on what the other person is trying to share emotionally. This deep attentiveness creates a safe space where people feel seen and valued, encouraging them to open up honestly and vulnerably. It reveals the often unspoken, complex emotions behind their stories, frustrations or joys, which casual or distracted listening would never detect. Most people underestimate how much of communication is emotional rather than factual. Words can mask feelings, and even articulate speakers can struggle to express what they truly feel. Empathetic listening sharpens your ability to hear the emotional undertones, the subtle shifts in tone, the pauses weighted with hesitation, or the quiet sighs of relief or distress that reveal what is really happening inside the other person's heart and mind. For example, a coworker might describe a project as fine in a flat tone, but with empathetic listening, you pick up the underlying stress or dissatisfaction behind that brief phrase. This insight helps you respond with compassion and support, rather than assumptions or superficial replies. The reality is that most people crave this kind of understanding but rarely receive it. When you practice empathetic listening, you become a rare and precious listener who validates others' feelings simply by acknowledging them. This validation alone can ease anxiety, reduce feelings of isolation, and foster genuine connection. You learn to listen not just for content, but for emotional truth, tuning into what might be too painful, complex, or confusing to articulate clearly. This approach can diffuse tension, resolve conflicts, and deepen bonds in both personal and professional relationships. To truly listen empathetically, you must cultivate patience and presence. It requires slowing down, silencing your internal chatter, and resisting the urge to interrupt or immediately offer advice. Instead of preparing your next response, focus entirely on the speaker's experience, letting their emotions resonate fully within you. Sometimes this means sitting with uncomfortable feelings or silence without rushing to fix them. By holding space for others to express their vulnerability, you communicate respect and acceptance, allowing the conversation to move into deeper, more meaningful territory. Empathetic listening also involves using verbal and nonverbal cues that communicate your attentiveness and understanding. Nodding gently, maintaining eye contact, and offering soft affirmations like, "I hear you," or "that sounds really hard," show you are engaged and empathetic. These small gestures encourage others to continue sharing and reassure them that their emotions are not being dismissed. Reflective statements, repeating or paraphrasing what you've heard, demonstrate that you are not only listening, but processing their feelings with care. This dynamic feedback loop builds trust and encourages openness. An often overlooked aspect of empathetic listening is the humility it requires. You must be willing to accept that you don't fully know the other person's experience or have all the answers. Instead of imposing your perspective, you acknowledge the complexity and validity of their emotions, even if they differ from your own. This stance fosters a non-judgmental environment where difficult emotions like anger, sadness, or fear can be expressed safely. By doing so, you empower others to explore and understand their feelings more clearly, leading to greater emotional clarity and healing. Empathetic listening also enriches your own emotional intelligence by deepening your understanding of human behavior and motivation. As you consistently practice tuning into the unspoken emotions behind words, you become more sensitive to the nuances of human expression and more adept at navigating social interactions. This heightened awareness enables you to respond with greater compassion and appropriateness, whether calming an upset friend, motivating a team member, or negotiating a delicate situation. It essentially transforms communication into a collaborative emotional exchange rather than a transactional exchange of information. In professional settings, empathetic listening is a critical leadership skill. Leaders who listen empathetically foster environments where employees feel valued and understood, leading to higher morale, increased loyalty, and better collaboration. By truly hearing the concerns and aspirations of their teams, empathetic leaders can address issues before they escalate and inspire deeper commitment. In customer relations, this skill can turn frustrated clients into loyal advocates by demonstrating genuine care and understanding. Thus, empathetic listening not only improves relationships, but also drives tangible results. On a personal level, empathetic listening builds intimacy and trust in relationships by allowing partners, family members, and friends to feel emotionally connected and supported. When someone feels listened to with empathy, it reduces feelings of loneliness and increases emotional safety. Over time, this creates a strong foundation where vulnerability is welcomed, misunderstandings are minimized, and resilience is built through mutual support. It changes how people relate to each other fundamentally, turning interactions into meaningful exchanges that nourish the human spirit. However, developing this skill requires ongoing commitment and self-awareness. It involves recognizing when your own biases, distractions, or emotional reactions interfere with your ability to listen fully. Regular reflection on your listening habits and seeking feedback can help you identify and overcome these barriers. It also means practicing empathy not only outwardly but inwardly, being gentle with yourself and understanding your own emotional responses so you can be fully present for others. This balance between self-awareness and outward focus is the cornerstone of authentic, empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is not an innate talent reserved for a few. It is a learnable and trainable art that anyone can cultivate with intention. The rewards are profound: deeper relationships, richer understanding, and a greater sense of connection with those around you. In a noisy, fast-paced world where genuine attention is scarce, offering empathetic listening is a gift that heals wounds, bridges divides, and fosters compassion. It reveals the hidden emotional layers beneath words, turning everyday conversations into opportunities for true human connection. Number 16. Watch for overcompensation to mask hidden intentions. In everyday interactions, most people present themselves with a certain level of control, carefully managing what they reveal about their thoughts and feelings. Yet beneath this surface, there are often subtle clues that betray hidden intentions or insecurities, and one of the most telling signs is overcompensation. Overcompensation occurs when someone exaggerates their behavior or reactions in an effort to conceal vulnerability, insecurity, or motives they don't want others to uncover. This tendency is surprisingly common because human nature drives us to protect our true selves, especially in social or professional settings where judgment or rejection feels likely. Recognizing these patterns of overcompensation is critical to understanding the deeper truths behind someone's outward persona. Most people experience moments when they feel the need to cover up perceived weaknesses or doubts. Instead of allowing themselves to appear uncertain or hesitant, they might amplify confidence, enthusiasm, or assertiveness to create a mask of control. This often manifests as a hyperactive display of emotions, excessive verbal affirmations, or even a need to dominate conversations or situations. For example, in a business meeting, a colleague who is secretly unsure about their ideas might speak louder than necessary, interrupt others, or rush to respond, attempting to overshadow their internal doubt. Recognizing such behavior as overcompensation helps you see beyond the surface bravado to the underlying insecurities or intentions. Overcompensation can also reveal itself in subtle body language signals. Someone who feels defensive may lean too far forward aggressively, or conversely, lean back excessively to create distance. Their gestures might become exaggerated or overly emphatic, betraying a struggle to maintain composure. Facial expressions could appear forced, with smiles that are too wide or laughter that feels rehearsed. These exaggerated actions are not random, but serve as a shield against revealing the true emotions that they fear will be judged or exploited. The challenge lies in noticing these subtle signs amid everyday social noise and distinguishing genuine confidence from protective posturing. When you begin to identify overcompensation, it becomes a powerful tool to better navigate conversations and relationships. Instead of reacting to the overt behavior at face value, you can probe deeper with empathy and curiosity. Asking open-ended questions or gently reflecting observations back to the person can encourage them to lower their defenses and share more authentic feelings. For instance, if someone appears overly enthusiastic or insists repeatedly on a point, calmly acknowledging their passion while inviting a more nuanced discussion can help balance the interaction. This approach helps break through the overcompensating facade, fostering trust and revealing the real concerns or desires underneath. The dynamics of overcompensation are often rooted in fear of rejection, failure, or exposure. People who feel uncertain about their worth or position may adopt these exaggerated behaviors as coping mechanisms. Understanding this psychological basis allows you to approach situations with greater compassion rather than judgment. Recognizing that overcompensation is a protective strategy, not simply annoying or aggressive behavior, shifts your mindset toward supportive engagement. This insight helps to create safer spaces for authentic communication, encouraging individuals to let go of their masks gradually without feeling threatened. In social contexts, overcompensation can also stem from a need to influence or control perceptions. People may exaggerate their achievements, minimize their mistakes, or amplify their charm to shape how others see them. These tactics are often unconscious, driven by a desire for acceptance or status. By tuning into these patterns, you gain an edge in discerning the real intentions behind a person's narrative. For example, a new acquaintance who constantly boasts about their successes but avoids specific details may be overcompensating for insecurities about their identity or accomplishments. Being alert to such nuances prevents you from accepting surface impressions at face value. It's important to note that overcompensation does not always indicate malicious intent. Sometimes it is simply a natural human response to stress or uncertainty. A person presenting themselves with over-the-top confidence may be trying to motivate themselves or reassure others. In these cases, sensitivity and patience are required to gently navigate beneath the surface without triggering defensiveness. Encouraging small disclosures of vulnerability in safe moments can gradually help these individuals balance their outward expressions with inner authenticity. Over time, honing your ability to detect overcompensation sharpens your overall emotional intelligence and people-reading skills. It trains you to spot discrepancies between words, tone, and body language, and to ask questions that open deeper understanding. This skill is invaluable across all types of relationships, whether in leadership roles, friendships, family dynamics, or romantic partnerships. Leaders who recognize overcompensation in team members can address hidden anxieties that may undermine performance. Friends who sense a loved one's exaggerated cheerfulness can offer genuine support rather than superficial praise. This deeper awareness fosters connection and reduces misunderstandings. Equally, you must be mindful not to overinterpret or label every confident gesture as overcompensation. Balance is key. Some people are genuinely expressive or assertive, and misreading their natural behavior can create unnecessary tension. The context, baseline behaviors, and combination of multiple signals are essential to making accurate assessments. By integrating your observations with a nuanced understanding of the individual and situation, you can distinguish between authentic self-expression and protective exaggeration. This balanced perspective avoids cynicism and encourages more empathetic interactions. On a personal growth level, understanding overcompensation also invites self-reflection. Everyone overcompensates at times, often without awareness. Recognizing your own tendencies allows you to address underlying insecurities more honestly and develop healthier ways of expressing confidence and vulnerability. This journey towards self-awareness not only improves your relationships, but also builds emotional resilience. By becoming more comfortable with your authentic self, you reduce the need for masks and cultivate genuine connections with others. In conclusion, watching for overcompensation is an essential skill in reading people more accurately and deeply. It reveals the hidden layers behind surface behaviors and offers insights into emotions, fears, and intentions that otherwise remain concealed. By noticing these exaggerated patterns and responding with empathy and curiosity, you can build trust, foster authenticity, and improve communication in all aspects of life. Overcompensation, when understood, is not a barrier but a gateway to the deeper truths that shape human interaction. Cultivating this awareness enriches your ability to connect, lead, and support those around you with wisdom and compassion. Number 17. Interpret posture shifts as signals of decision change. Everyone experiences moments where their mind is wrestling with choices, weighing options, or reconsidering earlier commitments. It's a reality that happens multiple times a day, from deciding what to say next in a conversation to bigger life decisions like career moves or relationship choices. While these mental shifts might be invisible on the surface, the body often tells a different story. Subtle changes in posture, those involuntary physical adjustments we sometimes don't even notice ourselves making, can be powerful indicators that someone's internal decision-making process is in flux. Learning to read these posture shifts offers a unique window into what a person may truly be thinking, even before they voice it. Imagine sitting across from someone in a discussion. Their body language isn't static. They lean forward eagerly when expressing agreement, then suddenly pull back slightly as if pulling away from a thought they just entertained. Their shoulders might tighten, or they might cross and uncross their arms, subtly reposition their legs, or shift their weight from one foot to another. These movements are not random, but serve as physical reflections of mental recalibration. When a person is reconsidering a position, hesitating, or on the verge of changing their stance, their posture tends to shift in ways that can reveal this internal conflict or transition. Paying close attention to these bodily cues can give you early insights into their evolving mindset before words even appear. The science behind posture shifts ties closely to the connection between body and brain. When a person faces uncertainty or is processing new information, their autonomic nervous system may trigger slight muscular adjustments as the body tries to prepare for possible actions. For instance, a person leaning forward might be subconsciously gearing up to engage more deeply or to challenge a viewpoint, whereas leaning back could suggest discomfort, doubt, or withdrawal. These postural reactions are part of the brain's broader effort to align physical readiness with emerging intentions, making the body a silent but truthful narrator of the mind's deliberations. Interpreting these subtle signals requires more than just noticing a single movement. Context matters immensely. For example, a person might shift posture simply to get more comfortable after sitting too long or to relieve tension in their muscles. To distinguish meaningful posture shifts related to decision-making, observe patterns over time and in response to specific conversational cues. If someone repeatedly adjusts their seating position whenever a certain topic arises, or when you propose an idea, it's likely their body is signaling internal debate or hesitation. This repetition, combined with the situational trigger, strengthens the reliability of interpreting these shifts as indicators of a changing mindset. Beyond physical shifts like leaning forward or backward, other nuances of posture carry meaning as well. The angle of the torso, the openness or closure of the chest, the alignment of the head and neck, all contribute to the nonverbal narrative of decision-making. An open chest and straight spine can suggest readiness and openness to change, while a hunched or twisted posture might indicate resistance or indecision. Similarly, subtle turns of the head away or downward glances can reveal doubt or discomfort with the options being considered. These layered signals collectively form a rich tapestry that, when carefully observed, unveils the silent shifts happening within a person's thought process. Recognizing posture shifts as markers of decision change can transform how you engage with others. It equips you to respond with greater empathy and adaptability. For example, if you notice a person leaning away or closing their posture after hearing a suggestion, it might signal that they need more time to process or that they are unsure about the direction. Instead of pushing them for immediate answers, you could choose to slow down, clarify, or provide reassurance, creating a safer environment for their mental recalibration. Conversely, a forward lean or open stance could be a green light to proceed with more direct conversation, knowing they are leaning into the possibility of change. In negotiations, leadership, or coaching scenarios, being attuned to these posture shifts becomes even more valuable. Decisions in these contexts are often layered with complexity and emotional weight, causing individuals to oscillate internally before committing. Leaders who catch these physical cues can address unspoken concerns or questions proactively, guiding discussions in a more informed and sensitive way. This attentiveness not only improves communication, but also builds trust, as people feel truly seen and understood beyond their spoken words. Moreover, posture shifts can indicate when someone is about to reveal a new perspective or alter their stance. A sudden adjustment, a straightening of the back, a deep breath accompanied by a forward lean might precede a statement that signals a change of mind. Being aware of this prepares you to listen more intently and respond thoughtfully, helping to foster a dialogue that respects the natural rhythm of evolving opinions. This anticipation enhances your ability to connect and collaborate effectively, making conversations more productive and less confrontational. It's crucial, however, to avoid jumping to conclusions based on posture shifts alone. Human behavior is complex, and nonverbal cues can have multiple interpretations depending on the individual and context. That's why combining these observations with other behavioral signals, verbal content, and your growing intuition leads to more accurate understanding. Developing patience and mindfulness in noticing these subtle movements allows you to refine your sensitivity without becoming overly analytical or presumptive. On a personal level, becoming aware of your own posture shifts can deepen self-awareness and decision-making clarity. Notice how your body responds when you feel uncertain or start to reconsider a position. Do you lean back unconsciously? Do your shoulders tighten? This internal feedback from your body can guide you to pause, reflect, or even reframe your thoughts before making a choice. Training yourself to recognize these bodily signals supports better emotional regulation and more thoughtful decisions. Practicing the skill of interpreting posture shifts also encourages a richer appreciation of human complexity. It reminds us that communication extends far beyond words, and that much of what we experience in others is conveyed silently through physical presence. This awareness cultivates greater empathy, patience, and curiosity, enriching both personal and professional relationships. Over time, it nurtures an ability to read between the lines of human behavior, gaining insight into the subtle dance of minds in conversation. Ultimately, understanding posture shifts as signals of decision change is not just about decoding others. It's about tuning into the nuanced interplay between mind and body that defines the human experience. When you pay attention to these quiet indicators, you gain a deeper connection to the evolving stories people carry, enabling more authentic, respectful, and effective communication. This ability transforms ordinary interactions into meaningful exchanges where true understanding can emerge, even before a single word is spoken. Number 18. Combine signals to avoid misreading single gestures. Every day, people interact with others who communicate not just through words, but through a complex web of nonverbal cues. Fleeting glances, subtle posture shifts, quick hand movements, and shifts in tone. It's a reality that nearly everyone faces, yet most people struggle to truly understand what lies beneath these signals. One of the biggest mistakes in reading human behavior is focusing too narrowly on a single gesture or expression, trying to derive meaning without considering the broader context. This can lead to misinterpretations that skew reality, damage relationships, and create unnecessary conflict. To truly grasp what someone is feeling or thinking, it's crucial to combine multiple signals and observe the bigger picture rather than fixating on one isolated movement. In the chaos of daily interactions, a single nod, a brief smile, or an eyebrow raise can be misleading. For example, a person might cross their arms not out of resistance, but simply because the room is cold or because it's their comfortable resting position. Likewise, a quick glance away might not signal deception, but could simply indicate distraction or fatigue. The challenge lies in discerning when a gesture is part of a genuine emotional state versus when it is a neutral or unrelated action. Combining signals helps solve this puzzle by layering different pieces of evidence, much like assembling clues in a mystery, to form a clearer and more reliable understanding of someone's true message. When you observe behavior, look for clusters of nonverbal cues that support each other. For instance, if a person's tone of voice changes, their eyes avoid direct contact, and their hands begin fidgeting, these combined signals can collectively point toward discomfort or evasiveness. On the other hand, if only one of these appears without the others, it's wise to pause and not jump to conclusions. This multidimensional approach minimizes the risk of reading too much into a harmless gesture or missing deeper emotions masked by deliberate control. The body rarely lies when many signals converge to tell a consistent story. Another important aspect is to factor in timing and sequence. Nonverbal cues rarely stand alone. They often occur in response to events or shifts in conversation. A person's crossed arms might initially seem defensive, but if moments later they lean forward, nod, and maintain steady eye contact, this sequence reveals a more complex internal dialogue. Maybe initial resistance gives way to openness as trust builds, or hesitation fades into agreement. Observing how signals evolve rather than simply noting their presence creates a dynamic map of someone's emotional and cognitive state, highlighting transitions and hidden layers that static observation would miss. Combining signals also means paying attention to contradictions within the nonverbal repertoire. People often try to mask their true feelings, consciously or unconsciously, creating mixed signals. Someone might smile but have tense shoulders or darting eyes that betray anxiety or uncertainty. In these moments, focusing on the inconsistency rather than any one isolated sign helps you sense that something isn't aligning beneath the surface. This discrepancy can be a red flag that calls for deeper listening, more empathetic questioning, or simply patience until the person feels safe to express their real emotions. Context remains the foundation for accurately combining signals. Different environments, cultural backgrounds, and personal habits shape how people use body language and facial expressions. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact is a sign of confidence and honesty, while in others, it may be considered rude or aggressive. A gesture indicating respect in one culture could be a sign of discomfort in another. Without situational awareness, even the most carefully combined nonverbal cues can be misread. This highlights the importance of understanding the person's normal or baseline behavior, social norms, and the specific circumstances to interpret combined signals effectively. This approach demands patience and mindfulness. It's easy to want quick answers or to jump to snap judgments based on a single standout gesture. However, emotional and mental states are rarely simple or binary. They are complex and fluid, layered with multiple feelings and thoughts that unfold over time. By training yourself to watch for a constellation of signals, you allow space for nuance, subtlety, and the possibility that what you see is only a part of the larger story. This layered observation invites humility and curiosity rather than assumptions, enhancing your ability to connect authentically and respond appropriately. Combining signals also helps to improve your ability to navigate difficult conversations or tense situations. When emotions run high, people tend to exhibit a variety of mixed nonverbal cues. Someone might try to appear calm with a neutral facial expression, but reveal their agitation through tapping fingers, shifting posture, or irregular breathing. Recognizing this cluster of signs enables you to address underlying tensions before they escalate, to ask thoughtful questions, or to create a supportive environment. In this way, blending signals fosters emotional intelligence that not only deciphers what others are feeling, but also guides your own responses to build trust and understanding. This skill also sharpens your self-awareness. Just as you learn to combine others' signals, you can begin to recognize how your own body language and subtle cues influence the messages you send. Sometimes your posture or tone might contradict your words, creating confusion or unintended impressions. Being mindful of this internal harmony between your verbal and nonverbal communication ensures that you present your authentic self clearly and consistently. This congruence is vital for building credibility and fostering open, honest exchanges. Developing the habit of combining signals requires deliberate practice. Start by observing everyday interactions around you without judgment or haste. Notice how clusters of gestures, expressions, and vocal tones come together during conversations with friends, family, or colleagues. Reflect on how these combined signals align with what is eventually said or revealed over time. You can also record your observations and compare them later to verify your interpretations, honing your skill incrementally. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, allowing you to read people with greater depth and accuracy. Ultimately, combining multiple signals respects the complexity of human behavior. It reminds us that no single gesture can fully capture the richness of someone's thoughts or feelings. This holistic approach embraces ambiguity, encourages empathy, and acknowledges the multifaceted nature of communication. By weaving together diverse nonverbal cues, you move closer to genuine understanding, improving relationships, and enhancing your ability to navigate the social world with insight and compassion. In a world where so much is communicated beyond words, mastering the art of combining signals is an invaluable skill. It empowers you to move past surface impressions and connect with the deeper realities people express. This expanded awareness transforms ordinary interactions into meaningful engagements, enriching your personal and professional life alike. With practice, patience, and attention, you will cultivate a perceptiveness that honors the true complexity of human communication, helping you navigate the subtle dance of emotions, thoughts, and intentions that define every encounter. Number 19. Use your intuition alongside observed behavior patterns. Have you ever been in a conversation where everything seemed to check out logically, but something just felt off? Maybe a colleague's words made sense, their body language appeared calm, yet a nagging feeling in your gut suggested otherwise. This disconnect between what you observe and what you sense intuitively is a common experience. Most people face this tension regularly, but often dismiss their intuition as irrational or unreliable. The reality is, intuition is a powerful internal compass that, when combined with careful observation of behavior patterns, can elevate your ability to read people beyond surface-level signs. It is the bridge that connects empirical evidence with subtle emotional undercurrents that can't always be consciously articulated. Intuition is often misunderstood as a mystical or vague sensation. However, it is rooted in your brain's ability to process vast amounts of information beneath conscious awareness. Every second you observe someone, you're subconsciously collecting details, micro-expressions, tone shifts, breathing rhythms, posture changes, and countless small gestures. Your brain then synthesizes these details into an emotional impression or a sense of trustworthiness, deception, comfort, or discomfort before your conscious mind fully catches on. This rapid automatic integration of sensory input is the essence of intuition. Learning to trust and develop this skill is crucial because not all signals can be neatly categorized or explained logically. In day-to-day interactions, relying solely on observable behavior patterns might give you a fragmented or even misleading picture. People are experts at controlling their outward expressions, especially in high-stakes or sensitive situations. They may consciously mask anxiety with a confident posture or hide frustration behind polite smiles. Here, intuition steps in to detect discrepancies or subtle off sensations that are not yet fully revealed by outward cues. This intuitive awareness often picks up on slight inconsistencies that your logical mind might overlook, something in the tone that doesn't quite match the words, or a fleeting change in the eyes that signals hidden tension. By paying attention to this feeling, you gain an additional layer of insight that complements observable evidence. However, intuition must be balanced with discernment. Blindly trusting gut feelings without validating them through careful observation can lead to misunderstandings or biases. It's essential to cross-check your intuitive hunches against actual behavior patterns and context. If your intuition suggests discomfort but the person's gestures and expressions indicate openness, it's worth probing gently rather than jumping to conclusions. This thoughtful integration of intuition and evidence guards against common pitfalls such as stereotyping or projection, where personal fears or assumptions distort perception. The goal is not to replace observation with intuition, but to let them work together in a complementary way, enriching your understanding of people. Building this synergy between intuition and observation is a skill that grows through practice and mindfulness. Begin by consciously noticing how your gut reacts during conversations or social situations. When something feels unusual or unexpected, pause and ask yourself what might be triggering that sensation. Then deliberately look for specific behaviors or environmental factors that could explain or contradict your feeling. Over time, this cycle trains your brain to connect internal sensations with external realities more accurately, refining your intuitive judgment. Journaling your experiences and reflecting on outcomes also strengthens this feedback loop, making your intuitive insights more reliable and grounded. Another important factor is emotional awareness. Your intuition is heavily influenced by your own emotional state. Stress, fatigue, or preconceptions can cloud your inner compass, making it harder to distinguish between genuine signals from others and your internal noise. Developing emotional regulation and self-awareness helps clear this fog, allowing your intuition to operate from a calm and centered place. Techniques such as mindfulness meditation, deep breathing, or simply taking moments to check in with your feelings during interactions can dramatically improve your ability to tune into authentic intuitive signals. The clearer your emotional lens, the sharper your perception of others. Moreover, intuition thrives on empathy, the ability to emotionally resonate with another person's experience. When you cultivate empathy, you're more attuned to subtle emotional shifts that might not be obvious through visual or verbal cues alone. This empathetic connection enriches intuition by adding depth and compassion to your interpretations, helping you respond in ways that acknowledge underlying feelings. It shifts reading people from a mechanical decoding of signals to a more human-centered understanding. This alignment fosters trust and rapport, creating an environment where others feel seen and heard on a deeper level. Integrating intuition with observed behavior patterns also enhances decision-making in complex social situations. Whether in personal relationships, business negotiations, or conflict resolution, understanding both the explicit and implicit messages people convey equips you to navigate challenges more skillfully. You can anticipate reactions, sense unspoken objections, or detect when someone is not ready to be fully transparent. This awareness allows you to adapt your communication style, ask more effective questions, or create space for honesty. The combination of intuition and observation becomes a strategic asset, helping you build stronger connections and avoid costly misunderstandings. Yet it is important to remember that intuition is not infallible. It is a tool that must be sharpened and tempered by experience and knowledge. Early missteps or false alarms are natural parts of the learning curve. The key is to remain open to feedback and willing to recalibrate your intuitive judgments as you gather more evidence and insights. Cultivating humility in this process fosters continuous growth, turning intuition from an unreliable hunch into a dependable guide. It transforms how you perceive and engage with the world, enriching your interpersonal interactions with depth and nuance. In practice, using intuition alongside behavior patterns means you start conversations with an openness to multiple layers of meaning. You listen not just to words, but to the energy behind them. You observe movements, but also sense the emotional texture in the silence between phrases. This holistic awareness allows you to detect when something is authentic and when it is performed, when emotions are genuine and when they are guarded. Over time, this heightened sensitivity becomes second nature, empowering you to respond with empathy, clarity, and insight. In a world saturated with information, but often lacking true understanding, harnessing your intuition in tandem with observed behaviors offers a powerful way to connect more deeply and authentically. It equips you to read beyond the obvious, to sense what lies beneath the surface, and to navigate social landscapes with confidence and compassion. This blend of inner knowing and external awareness is a rare and invaluable skill, one that transforms everyday interactions into meaningful connections and helps you uncover the hidden truths in human behavior. Number 20. Practice reading people daily to sharpen perception. It's a harsh reality that most people go through countless social interactions without truly understanding the subtle undercurrents beneath the surface. Think about your day-to-day encounters, the brief chats with a cashier, meetings with co-workers, casual conversations with friends or strangers. Often, these moments pass by without any deep connection or real insight into what the other person is truly feeling or thinking. The ability to read people isn't a rare talent reserved for a chosen few. It's a skill that anyone can develop, but it requires intentional practice every single day. Without consistent effort, your perception remains dull, and opportunities for genuine connection or accurate understanding slip by unnoticed. Sharpening your perception starts with commitment. You need to treat every interaction as a valuable chance to observe, analyze, and understand. This means more than just listening to words. It's about paying close attention to the entire package, the tone, gestures, facial expressions, pauses, and energy. Daily practice compels you to become more mindful and present, allowing your brain to notice details that usually blend into the background noise. Over time, these small observations accumulate into a nuanced understanding of human behavior. The more you practice, the quicker your mind recognizes patterns, and the more naturally your insights flow during conversations. The challenge for most people lies in the habitual nature of social interactions. It's easy to fall into autopilot, responding to others mechanically or focusing solely on what you want to say next. To break free from this cycle, practicing reading people daily requires slowing down your thought process. Instead of reacting immediately, pause to scan the other person's body language, note any shifts in eye contact, and listen carefully for subtle changes in voice pitch or rhythm. These small moments of focused attention transform how you engage and help you catch cues that reveal underlying emotions or intentions. Over time, this heightened awareness becomes second nature, sharpening your social intuition and accuracy. Another crucial aspect is variety. Reading people isn't just about analyzing those closest to you. It's about expanding your perceptual range by observing a diverse range of individuals and situations. Practicing with different types of people, acquaintances, strangers, people from various cultures or backgrounds, broadens your understanding of behavioral nuances. Each interaction presents unique challenges, forcing you to adapt your observations and refine your interpretive skills. This diversity prevents tunnel vision, helping you avoid assumptions based on limited experiences. The more varied your practice, the more robust and flexible your perception becomes. The process of daily practice also involves reflection. It's not enough to simply observe. You must actively review and analyze your experiences. After interactions, take a moment to consider what signals you noticed, how you interpreted them, and whether your assumptions were accurate. Reflect on moments when you misread cues or missed important signals, and think about what you could do differently next time. This reflective habit transforms practice from passive observation into deliberate learning. Keeping a journal or mental notes of your social encounters and insights helps solidify the learning process and progressively sharpens your perception. It's important to recognize that practicing daily also means embracing discomfort and vulnerability. Becoming skilled at reading people can sometimes reveal uncomfortable truths about others or even about yourself. You might notice defensive behaviors, hidden anxieties, or unspoken conflicts that you previously ignored. Accepting these realities requires emotional courage and openness. The more you practice, the more you'll learn to navigate difficult social dynamics with empathy and clarity rather than avoidance. This emotional resilience is a critical component of mastering the art of reading people. Incorporating feedback from trusted friends or mentors can significantly enhance your practice. Sometimes your personal biases or blind spots cloud your perception. Sharing your observations with others and inviting their perspectives offers valuable reality checks. Constructive feedback helps you calibrate your interpretations and recognize areas for improvement. Engaging in conversations about social dynamics and behavior broadens your conceptual framework and deepens your understanding. This collaborative approach to practice accelerates your growth and strengthens your social intelligence. Another practical way to embed daily practice into your routine is through focused exercises. For instance, you might challenge yourself to notice 3 nonverbal cues during every social interaction or to mentally catalog tone shifts during conversations. Setting these small, achievable goals helps maintain consistency and builds momentum. Over weeks and months, these incremental steps compound, significantly improving your ability to read subtle signals. This structured approach provides measurable progress and keeps your motivation high, preventing stagnation or burnout. Technology can also be a useful tool in your daily practice. Watching videos of people speaking, such as interviews, debates, or presentations, allows you to observe behavior patterns without the pressure of immediate interaction. You can pause and replay moments to analyze facial expressions, gestures, and tone in detail. This kind of detached observation strengthens your analytical skills and trains your eye for micro cues that might be missed in live conversation. Supplementing real-world practice with media-based observation creates a comprehensive training environment for your social perception. However, the ultimate test and benefit of daily practice is real-world application. It's one thing to notice signals in isolation and quite another to integrate these observations into how you communicate and relate to others. Practicing reading people daily empowers you to respond with greater empathy, adapt your approach to different personalities, and build trust more effectively. These skills transform your relationships and social environments, opening doors to deeper connections and more successful interactions. The confidence that comes from knowing you can accurately read social cues profoundly impacts your personal and professional life. In conclusion, mastering the art of reading people is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong journey. Daily practice is the engine that drives this development, turning ordinary social moments into powerful learning opportunities. By committing to observe attentively, reflect honestly, seek diverse experiences, and apply your insights with empathy, you gradually build an exceptional level of social perception. This skill enhances your understanding of others and yourself, enriching your interactions in ways that many overlook. The investment you make in practicing reading people every day pays dividends in every area of life, making you not just a better observer, but a more compassionate, intuitive, and effective communicator.